And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Zai versus Hagedorn, step forward.
Real estate investor Kumar Zai is suing former friend, 25-year-old bartender Morgan Hagedorn, for a loan for bail. Morgan claims Kumar's pawned her laptop and digital camera behind her back.
Mr. Zai, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for bail and for collect calls that she made to your home from jail. She is, according to what I've read in your complaint, the ex-roommate of your ex-girlfriend.
Correct, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Hagedorn?
Yes.
When were you arrested and for what?
It was early March of last year, and I was arrested for driving on a suspended license.
Why didn't you have a license?
Prior court tie-ups.
What does that mean, prior court tie-ups?
What had happened is I had received a notice in the mail, and I did not fill it out in time or get it back, and therefore my license was suspended.
How many times was your license suspended?
Just the once, but due to missing court dates and whatnot, I got it revoked as well as a bench warrant for my arrest, and that's when I was arrested.
You have a very busy corporate schedule, Ms. Hagedorn?
Yes, I do.
You do? Like what?
I do bartend full-time as well as model, and I'm pursuing other social non-for-profit organizations here in, well, my hometown, St. Louis.
Is she for real or what?
It takes up a lot of my time.
You get a copy of my old book, will you please?
Put that on your schedule.
Why did you call Mr. Zai when you got busted?
I called my roommate, and she was at his apartment, and I didn't know what to do.
Called your roommate on her cell phone?
That is correct.
And you found her at Mr. Zai's apartment?
They witnessed the arrest, and they were aware of what had happened.
Just listen to me very carefully. You called her on her cell phone?
I do believe.
What does that mean, you do believe?
It's been a long time, and it was a very traumatic night.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Zai?
I'm a real estate investor.
Did she call you in your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the phone bill?
Unfortunately, I couldn't obtain the phone bill. No, I don't have the phone record.
Well, what evidence do you have of this whole thing, sir?
Well, I do have a paper from the court from the day that I actually went and bailed her out of jail. I had to charge it on my credit card. There was a record of that, and which was actually the bond money. And I also have a court paper that shows that they refunded the bond money to her and her attorney instead of coming back to me.
Why is that, Ms. Hagedorn? Why did you take the bond money?
I did not receive any bond money. I was told that I was not to receive it, and it was to be paid to my attorney for services rendered.
Who's your attorney?
Leland.
Phone number?
I do not have that information on
Go
me.
get it! Go get it!
Okay.
Ready?
Area code 947.
Okay, and it is your testimony that you never saw any of this money, and it went to your attorney for counsel fees that were your responsibility.
Yes.
They were Mr. Zai's responsibility.
That is correct.
Good. So why don't you owe him this money, $1,095?
Well, what happened, Your Honor? Kumar's told me that he had taken my laptop as well as my digital camera that was at his girlfriend's grandmother's house, and he pawned it off. This was a brand new laptop.
Go ahead.
Your Honor. What had happened was she pawned her computer approximately 2 months prior to this incident, along with her digital camera. And my ex-girlfriend's grandmother felt sorry for her, went to the pawn shop, got it out of there, and held on to it till she gives her the money to, basically get it back.
So she pawned it?
She pawned it originally, and after repeated phone calls, I've called her at least 20, 30 times, left messages for her, to give me a call back, let's make an arrangement, to pay this money back to me. Never heard back from her. So I contacted my ex-girlfriend's grandmother. I said, is there a way I can get the computer from you to maybe sell it, to maybe recover some of my money? And she says, well, let me call her and tell her that this is what I'm doing. I said, that's fine. And I paid $300 to her, my ex-girlfriend's grandmother, to get her computer and her digital camera. I called her. I said, I have your computer, I have your digital camera. If you want to come and pay me the money that you owe me, it's sitting right here. Otherwise, I'm going to try to sell it to recover some of my money. Never heard back from her again. So
Did you sell it?
I sold the computer for $325. I still have the digital camera. I brought it with me to give it back to her.
Well, so you sort of resorted to self-help, sir. You've made this case, which was a relatively simple case, very, very complex.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
understand, Mr. Zai?
Yes, yes, I understand.
You should have come to me before you resorted to self-help, sir, because this convoluted story that you tell me doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Zai. It's a very dumb thing to do. And since you've complicated the situation, there's very little I can do to help you. I mean, this lady, I know, has a very busy corporate schedule, but she doesn't know whether she's a foot or horseback. I don't know whether you got full value for the computer when you sold it for $300. You can't do what you did. You created a problem by complicating the situation by resorting to your own form of self-help. Do you understand?
Yes, I
I can't
understand.
help you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Dickinson versus Irwin. Parties have been, you're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Dickinson, Miss Irwin is your boyfriend's mother.
Yes.
I assume this is the boyfriend.
Yes, he is.
How long have you been his girlfriend?
We're actually broken up right now. We were dating for about a month.
Not dating anymore.
No.
Any particular reason?
We were good friends, and I didn't want to ruin our friendship.
It is your complaint that Mrs. Irwin, for no good reason, broke your cell phone,
Yes, she did.
and you want her to pay for it.
Yes.
And Miss Irwin says you were an uninvited guest in her home, and that precipitated this incident with the cell phone. So why don't you tell me when this happened?
This happened in February, the 21st. Ryan and I were dating at the time. We had gotten back to his house and we were watching TV, relaxing,
Where were you watching TV?
up in his living room. And Bernice came home,
Bernice, that's you.
Yes.
and she came home yelling and freaking out on Ryan. She began to yell at him even more and put him down.
What was she saying?
You're a loser, you're good for nothing. And then she began to hit him, smack him in the face.
What did he say to her?
Nothing. Nothing was really said. She was just like, you're a loser. And Ryan was just simply not saying anything because I was present. And when she came into the living room, she was yelling at me. And then she had hit Ryan across the face. And then she did it a few more times. And I told her that if she had kept hitting him, that I was going to call the cops because I did not feel comfortable whatsoever. She looked at me and said, I'll do whatever I want. This is my house. Hit him again, and that's when I had called for the police assistance.
Okay, so you used your cell phone to call the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what happened next?
When I was on the phone with the police, she was still yelling at Ryan, and they got it on tape and everything like that. And I had said, I need police assistance to this address. And then she had noticed I was on the phone with the cops, and then she had attacked me. And I have pictures here of the bruises from when she grabbed my arm and my wrist.
Is that when your phone was broken?
Yes.
Well, tell me how it got broken, Miss Dickinson.
I was on the phone, and she had grabbed my arm, and then she was fighting with me. I was telling her to let go of me, not to touch me. And then she grabbed the top half of my cell phone and snapped it off, and opened her front door and threw it outside in the snow.
Okay, now I'll see the police report, please.
Okay. I also have pictures of the bruises. Would you like to see them?
Yes.
And there's also pictures of my cell phone in there.
Is this the only police report that you have?
Yes, there was no police report written. It was just a log entry.
Okay. Step up, please. Your first name is Ryan? Mm-hmm. How old are you, Ryan?
18.
You're not living in your mother's home anymore, is that right?
Yes.
Who are you living with now?
I'm staying with friends now.
How long has it been since you haven't been getting along with your mother?
As long as I can remember.
When did you ultimately move out of the house?
She kicked me out a couple weeks ago after she got arrested for domestic assault on me
Why don't you get along with your mother?
because she's crazy.
I also have the police log from her arrest, if you'd like to see that.
I would. Are you going to school, Ryan?
No, not right now.
You working?
No, not currently.
How are you supporting yourself?
I really haven't been.
Okay. All right, Miss Irwin, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a store manager.
Were you working on the 21st of February?
I was.
What were your hours of employment?
On that particular day, I worked till about 6 p.m.
Did you go directly from the store home?
I did not.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house, and then I came home.
What time did you get home?
Approximately 7 to 7:30 p.m.
And you came home and you found your son and his girlfriend watching television?
They were in my living room. My house was a total disaster. Ryan was not allowed to have any guests at my home without my permission, which he continued to do so, and I was quite angry.
Had you ever met this young lady before?
Once or twice, yes.
Where?
One time at my house, and another time she was leaving my house for a few minutes. That was it.
You never had any problem with her?
No, I didn't.
So what happened when you came home on the 21st?
I'd asked Ryan why he had a guest in my home. We'd had many problems in the past with him having company, and I told him he was not allowed to have anybody in my home without my permission. Ryan got very angry at me and started swearing, cursing, calling me several names. He then spit in my face, literally, and I slapped him across the face once. At that point, Jamie had gotten off my sofa and started calling me names that I will not even repeat, and I asked them to leave my house. They refused.
Shh. Yes?
She did say, threatened she was going to call the police. I at that time told her if indeed she called the police, my son probably would have been arrested because he was on probation.
For what?
Numerous things, assault and battery, disturbing the peace. He was on probation for assault and battery on a police officer.
That's serious stuff.
It had
Ryan?
been serious stuff.
That's serious stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so she called the police.
Yeah, I didn't know she was on the phone. I had just got done telling her if indeed she called the police.
There was a lot of screaming going around, so
yes, there was.
Everybody was screaming. I want to know how her phone got broken.
She got on the phone with somebody, I'm not sure who, saying that I was abusing my son, which was not true.
That was with the police.
My son had just spit in my face, and I did slap him across the face after he had called me several vulgar names. One time I did slap him across the face. Yes, I did.
I want to know how her phone got broken.
Well, she was on the phone, and I, at that point, once again told her, if you want to make the phone call, go outside. I need you to get out of my house. And she refused to leave, so I took the phone out of her hand. And as far as I know, it was the top part of her cell phone that did snap off. And at that point, I threw it outside to make them leave my house. I'd asked them several times to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Set your sights a little higher. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have a new
Don't say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan.
And later today,
Buster's a stubborn dog, there's no doubt about it.
I have a very stubborn dog, but she has been very, very well trained.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jamie Dickinson says her ex-boyfriend's mother owes for breaking her cell phone. Bernice Irwin claims Jamie was trespassing on her property.
Okay. There are a couple of things that I don't quite understand, Miss Irwin, and I think that probably you would have been more prudent if when you came home and found Ryan there watching television with his girlfriend, you waited until she left and then confronted him. As far as I've heard, they weren't doing anything untoward. They were sitting and watching television in your living room. So when you came home and started to go off on him in front of his girlfriend, especially a kid that you'd had trouble with and that clearly has a temper, that probably wasn't the most prudent thing to do. And then there was a lot of yelling and screaming. However, Miss Dickinson was an invited guest to your home. She was invited by your son, who lives there, or did then. And whatever argument you were having with your son, and I'm not going to get into slapping him in the face or screaming or yelling or bad names, I'm not getting into that. The only thing that's before me is whether you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. I believe her when she says that she told you she was going to call the police, and I believe you knew she was calling the police because that's what she said she was going to do. And at that time, if you grabbed her by the arm and grabbed her cell phone and snapped it off and then threw it outside, you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. It seems to me that there was an altercation in your home and it was getting out of hand. It was a good thing that she was calling the police. So why would you be angry? So, how much was the cell phone?
It is $199.99. I have the paper from the website singular.com.
Okay, can I see it, please? And the cell phone. Who is this person?
Carol, a friend of mine.
Was she there that evening?
She wasn't there that evening.
Okay. This is one of these cute little phones that takes pictures?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't take pictures. Okay, that's all you're suing for, the cost of the cell phone. Anything else you want to tell me?
Nope, that about covers everything.
What do you do for a living, Miss Dickinson?
I babysit, and I used to work at CVS. I had just quit my job, though, because I'm still in high school, and I'm graduating this year, so it was kind of hard doing both.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Lots of times. Set your sights a little higher. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have a new
Don't say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan. You've got a little ways to go to get your act together, young man. Somebody who's 18 years old, who's not going to school, who's not working, who's not supporting themselves, who's got an arrest history, according to your mother, that's lengthy, is not going down the right path. The yellow brick road is eluding you, Ryan. You're going to have to find it. Otherwise, you're going to be dead by the time you're 30. That would be a shame, right? Be smart. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $199. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm a little confused about the whole thing, actually. I don't really believe that I broke Jamie's cell phone.
I was not brought up that way. I was brought in a very well-nurtured home where no violence is present.
I did ask her to leave my home along with my son.
Mom overreacts a whole lot.
I'm really hoping that we can be friends yet again, mother and daughter. Mother and son, I'm sorry.
That'd be wonderful if it could, but I don't know if that could ever happen.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Horn Torres versus Cunningham. Step forward, please.
25-year-old homemaker Deanna Horn Torres is suing dog trainer Brian Cunningham for injuring her dog Buster during a session. Brian says he did nothing out of the ordinary.
Miss Torres?
Yes.
And this is Buster.
Yes.
And Buster was behaving badly. How old is Buster?
He's 4 months.
Where did you get him?
We got him from a breeder.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a boxer.
Did the breeder tell you that boxers are hard to train?
No, she didn't.
Is he hard to train?
He's doing better, but he is a little difficult. Yes, yes.
He doesn't look interested in what's going on here, I'll tell you that right now. Well, according to what your complaint states, because you were having some difficulty in training Buster on your own, you asked your vet for a recommendation.
Yes.
Had you used this vet before?
Yes.
You think that the vet that you used is a good one?
Yes.
And your vet recommended Mr. Cunningham
Yes.
and said he was a good dog trainer.
Yes.
You made an agreement with him. I think his whole fee was $525, and you paid him, and it is your claim that he hurt your dog during the training sessions, and you want a full refund.
Yes.
The $525 that you paid Mr. Cunningham was for how many sessions?
He didn't give me an amount. He said he would come to my house until I was completely satisfied. He didn't tell
Is that
me
what
how
you
long
said?
it would take.
I offer everybody. It's a 6-week course or until the dog is completely trained.
What kind of trained? You mean potty trained, crate trained?
Housebreaking, chewing, digging, obedience is how we do it.
What if you get a really dumb dog?
There aren't really very many dumb dogs. It's just folks, you've got to follow up with the instruction I give you.
What about stubborn dogs?
Very stubborn sometimes. Buster's a stubborn dog. There's no doubt about it.
I have a very stubborn dog. But she has me very, very well trained.
That's good.
All right, Miss Torres, tell me what happened.
He had came 3 times to my house. The first day, everything went fine. The second time he came, there was a pink mark around the dog's neck, and he told me it was because the dog was a white dog and it would go away. And it did. Within 2 hours, it was gone. And so the next time he came, the dog ran under the bed to hide. Well, whenever he came out...
That's all right. You can leave him alone. He's fine.
As soon as he put the collar around the dog's neck, the dog snapped at him. And so when he was being rough with him, we asked him, why are you being so rough? And he said that he had to do it to keep him from snapping at people. So we said, okay, well,
You
Buster.
mean the dog bit the inside of his mouth?
Yes. And so at that time, we ended the session. He took the collar off the dog, and the dog ran underneath the bed. And when I went to the dog, I had noticed the injuries that I do have pictures of. And my husband talked to Brian later on the phone and told Brian that we didn't want his services anymore. We couldn't have him abuse our dog.
Okay, so let me see the photographs that you took. Okay, Mr. Cunningham, I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I've been training dogs for 17 years. I have 2 witnesses to tell you what kind of trainer I am.
Tell me your name.
Barbara Fuquay.
Step up, please. Are you just a satisfied customer?
Oh, I'm absolutely satisfied.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Maltese, Sophie.
Little one.
She's very small, yes. She's about 5 pounds.
Does she bark?
Well, actually, she does not bark. No, not usually.
Good.
Yes, I know. I'm so happy with her, and I'm so happy with Brian.
Okay. You, sir?
My name is Victor McDougall, and Brian has trained 2 dogs for me. The first one was Tara, and she had a little problem with liking to chew on furniture and stuff. And, you know, Brian helped me train her and get her out of that. And most people would tell me that, boy, I wish my kids listened as well as my dog. So, yeah, so that's always good to hear.
Okay. Have a seat. So this is my problem, Mr. Cunningham. I believe that you are a good dog trainer.
Thank you.
And I believe that because their vet that they have tremendous confidence in recommended you.
Yes.
And you bring 2 witnesses who I have no reason to doubt that say that you've been wonderful with their animals. This didn't work out. Whether you pulled a little too hard, whether the dog bruises easily, I don't know what happened. But these people did not cause this injury to the dog. I can understand they're being upset. Does it sound like you're losing yet, sir?
No, it doesn't.
Good. Perfect. Would you give these to Mr. Cunningham, please? We have to know when to...
Okay.
Take them back now, please. Now, you have a whole bunch of satisfied customers. And I don't think that, based upon what these people tell me, that this is standard fare for you, because otherwise their vet would not have recommended you, and you have satisfied customers. So if these people are not satisfied, you should have given them back their money and said, in 17 years, I never had this kind of problem. I don't want this kind of problem now. My time is too valuable.
Your Honor,
yes,
if I
Mr.
may,
Cunningham.
I believe that I should be paid for my time. If
Well-
I show up 4 times and they refuse to accept any of my, I understand that. The dog, you know what, here's the thing. Had they been working the dog every week, only 10 minutes a day, that would not have been the case
Mr. Cunningham,
ever.
you know how kind I was just being to you before, a moment ago? I was being kind to you because like 10 million people are going to watch this. A lot of them have dogs. So I was trying to be kind and say, you're a wonderful dog trainer.
Well, I am.
This was an aberration. You should have just said, going to return your money, and that's it. But since you don't seem to get it, what I'm going to tell you is this, sir. If you went to their house first time and then came back for the next session and you found that they weren't following your direction,
Yes.
at that point you could have said, just a minute, I can't work this way. I'm not going to treat this dog in any way that's
treat the dog any rougher.
in any way that's rough, that's going to leave this kind of bruising. Here's your money back, not the 4th time you came to the house, but the 2nd time you came to the house and said, I can't work with you people. I could work with that dog, but I can't work with you. So here's your money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $525. Clearly, this dog is not intimidated by anything, not even my voice.
No, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Soyak versus Holloway. Step forward, please.
Limousine driver James Soyak is suing former client, business owner Tim Holloway, for an unpaid hotel bill. James says Tim is a scammer.
Mr. Holloway, how old are you, sir?
33.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I have a maintenance company.
How long have you had it?
My dad had it since '59. I took it over about 3 years ago.
He's no longer involved in the business.
Sometimes, yeah.
So he still goes into the office?
Correct.
On a daily basis?
2 or 3 times a week.
Are you making this up as we're going along, sir?
No.
Are you trying to give me accurate answers? Because you never can tell why I'm asking you these questions.
Correct.
Now, do you live alone or do you live with someone else?
I live with my fiance.
Did you move into her place or did you move in someplace together?
Together.
When?
2 years ago.
What's the address?
North Wilson.
How large an apartment is it?
It's a condo. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Are you renting or did you buy it?
We're renting that.
Are you both on the lease?
Yes.
I love this. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, Mr. Soyak, you drive a limousine.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you drove Mr. Holloway in your limousine to a casino, hotel.
Yes.
And he told you that he'd forgotten his wallet and he needed a hotel room. So you agreed to put the hotel room on your credit card.
Yes, ma'am. That's not true.
He used the room and then stiffed you for the reimbursement.
I rented 2 rooms for him, $99 each.
In addition, he didn't have his wallet, so he said he needed some money. You gave him cash. He gave you a check.
Yes, ma'am.
For $300. The check bounced.
Yes.
That's not true.
What's not true, sir?
The room, not a check.
Let's talk about the check.
Okay.
Let me hear.
I gave him a check. Me and my fiance was having problems at the house. I couldn't get to what I need to get to the bank. I owe him for the $300, but the hotel room, it never happened.
Okay. Now, Mr. Holloway, your last paragraph of your answer, which you swore to, sir, says, I did give him a check for $300, which was returned. I explained that I had just moved and was having problems with my bank account.
I did just move.
No, just a second. I explained that I had just moved.
Same thing I just said.
No, that's not. Mr. Holloway, let me understand something, sir. No more than 5 minutes ago, I said to you, where do you live? You gave me the address. Who do you live with? I live with my fiance. How long have you lived there in the condo? 2 years. Did you sign a lease? Yes.
That's what I said. But I just moved. If we was having problems, evidently I had to leave because we was having problems. So I did leave. Now we reconciled. That's one thing. But I did leave. So what I told you is the truth.
Can I see the bills for the 2 rooms, please? Mr. Soyak, how long have you been driving a limousine?
10 years.
Okay. You ever had this kind of trouble?
Never.
Mr. Soyak, let me explain something to you. Don't be an idiot. You don't take out your credit card, allow somebody to put money on your credit card. You don't take checks from people you don't know.
You're absolutely right. No,
good. Can I have it, please? The rooms you rented for $99, but he certainly did a lot more damage than the $99.
He drank everything in the bar. Plus movies, plus phone calls.
I never went in the room.
Okay. You owe him a whole bunch of money, sir. You owe him for these 2 hotel rooms. Who else was with you? Who else was with him, Mr. Soyak?
He found a couple of young gentlemen. They were walking the street while we were in Old Town Pasadena, and he claimed he's a music producer. And I don't know how he knew these guys can sing, but he made friends with them and invited them later to be picked up in the car. And we drove them also to the Commerce Casino. He didn't want the other two men to sleep in the same room as him, so he wanted me to get a separate room for them.
That's a lie. That never happened.
It's not a lie because I have my witnesses
Mr. Holloway,
here.
Mr. Holloway.
I have my witnesses here. My other driver that picked him up Sunday.
So you dropped him off and somebody else picked him up?
Yes.
Who picked him up?
Richard. He's my co-driver.
Step up, sir. Your last name?
Thompson.
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,113. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Now, this is case number 10 on the calendar in the matter of Selby versus Burke. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Selby, the defendant is your former girlfriend. You have a child together, and it is your claim that she filed 2 cases against you for domestic violence, both of which were false. One she dropped, the next one she pursued. You were found not guilty, and you are suing her for those false charges. Ms. Burke says that you did, in fact, put your hands on her in a violent manner on both of those occasions, which is why she called the police.
Yeah.
How old is your child?
He's almost 2.
Do you have an order declaring you to be the father of this child?
No.
Why not?
My name's not on the birth certificate because she was married when my son was born, and I'm not legally considered the father.
He is. I have. He went to court and said that he was the father in my divorce.
Okay. Well, he may have gone to say he was the father in your divorce, but has there been an adjudication of paternity in any court?
No, ma'am.
Oh, you are, sir. Listen to me very carefully. I have a surprise for you. You're going to be very happy to hear this. It says, the third-party defendant, that was you, Jason Selby, that is your name, is it not?
Correct.
Is hereby established as the biological father of the minor child, Brendan Selby.
Okay.
We're going to get you a copy of this, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
You are the father. You have certain rights and certain responsibilities, Mr. Selby. It's interesting when I read your case, when I read your complaint, the defendant is now living in another area, so you haven't been seeing your son. How old was your son when you two separated?
It was about 1.5 years.
Okay. Now, Ms. Burke, I'm coming to you. When was the first instance of domestic violence which was the subject of a restraining order that you placed upon Mr. Selby?
September.
Okay, and tell me what happened in September of 2004.
He came.
Who was this, by the way?
This is the guy that used to live up front, our neighbor, Robert Menu.
And what is he now?
A witness to both instances.
Okay. This is not the boyfriend that he talks about, is that right?
It's not the boyfriend. He's never been my boyfriend.
But he came with you to court?
Right.
And you live in Florida?
Right.
And he flew with you from Florida?
Right.
Did you
Yes.
stay together last night in the same place?
They wouldn't give us 2 separate hotel rooms.
I'm just asking you a question.
Yes.
Okay. I never stayed in the same hotel room with a neighbor when I traveled.
I asked, and they said that there was going to be at least 2 separate beds, because I asked her about that, about getting 2 separate hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm. You think I believe you? I don't. Let's move on. September 2004.
He came to the house, and we were arguing about Brendan, our son. I went into the room, and I was packing my stuff and putting it in a bag.
Just a second. So this was a place that you lived together?
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't come to your house?
He moved out. He had moved out when...
When had he moved out?
Maybe 2 days before that, because he had found a letter, and he went through my stuff. And
A letter from whom?
Me. It was stuff that I wrote about my feelings, about him and the way he treated me.
Okay.
And...
So he moved out?
He packed his stuff, yes, and left and went to his aunt's house, I believe.
Keep going.
And he pushed me back because I went to try to go around him in the bedroom to leave, and I told him to leave me alone and to let me go.
Well, what did he do?
He kept pushing me back.
That's not what you said in here. You said he pushed you once.
He kept trying to stop me from going.
Don't make things up as we're going along, Miss Burke. You said in your answer that he pushed you one time, not kept pushing you. Now, which one was it? Did he push you one time, as you swore to in your complaint, or did he push you multiple times, as you just told me?
He did push me one time, but
Okay.
he kept, like, holding, like, where I couldn't get around him. He would move over to the side to where I couldn't get around him. When I did get a...
Blocking, not pushing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Before I had gotten to the car is when he had shoved me from behind. We fell into the car. He wouldn't let me get into the car, and that's when Robert had called the police.
You have a police report?
Not with me, no.
Do you?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. All right, Mr. Selby, you want to tell me what happened on September 9th, please?
Can I start from September 8th?
If it's absolutely necessary. If it's not necessary, it's just going to irritate me.
September 8th, I was at work with her son Tyler because there were hurricanes, the schools were closed. When she came to pick me up from work, she brought Robert with her to pick me up from work. We went home.
On September 8th?
Correct. She left with Robert for approximately 2 hours. I knew she wrote that 19-page letter, so I went looking for it, and it confirmed they were together. She has since got her hands on it and destroyed it. There were police called that night because...
Why?
He threatened me that he was going to beat me up. Then he called the police because I was on his property, which it was like 2 places on 1 piece of land. The police came out and they escorted her off the property with the kids. September 9th, I found out she was packing not her stuff, but everything, my stuff, which I still don't have today. I never went into the bedroom where they said I pushed her. I was never in there. I was in the living room the whole time. I went to leave, get into my aunt and uncle's car. She ran to the car. I raced her to the car. I beat her to the car. No one fell. There were no tripping.
Why was she running to the car?
To take it.
Go ahead.
When I got in the car, Robert ran over on the phone, said he witnessed me hit her. I did it, I did it. I asked to speak to the cop. He wouldn't let me get on the phone.
Okay. Why did you drop that case?
Because Jason, we were going to try to reconcile and get back together, and he had told me that he was going to go to counseling, which I believe he did in fact go in January.
Counseling for what?
For being abusive mentally and physically, because September was not the first time that he has actually been in trouble for hitting me.
So you dropped those charges in September.
Right.
And when was the next time you filed an application for a restraining order?
February 3rd.
What was that about?
I got a call from my babysitter that I needed to call H&R Block, so I called them, and they said that my income tax had been denied because my children's Social Security numbers had come back that they were already claimed.
Did you claim both boys?
No, just Brendan.
Just
I got
Brendan.
it right here.
Okay.
It was my understanding that he claimed both the children.
So you were mistaken.
Right.
So, what did you do?
So I called him, and I told him that I was going to come over, and I went over to his house.
With whom?
With Robert.
Big mistake.
Right.
Big.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Don't make things up as you're going along. I can tell I have a truth meter back here. When somebody is giving me the business, my left eye starts to twitch.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Selby says, on 2 occasions, ex-girlfriend Anne Marie Burke had him falsely arrested for domestic violence.
So here's what we have, Ms. Burke. We have your husband who, according to the police report back in September, was of the belief that you were having an affair with Robert.
Right.
That's all over the police report. Whether you were or whether you weren't, I don't have to get into now. That's not my business. Quite frankly, I don't care. The fact that you shared a room together last night is some indication to me that you're more than just friendly neighbors. However, you knew that he was harboring that belief, so to bring Robert to his house was a large mistake.
Well, the only reason why I brought Robert was because he was the only one that I had as far as a male figure, because I am afraid of Jason.
Then you shouldn't have gone to his house. What do you think you were going to accomplish going to his house as opposed to asking him on the telephone what happened?
I couldn't ask him on the telephone because his phone was breaking up. There was...
Put your hand down. This was an emergency situation that you had to go over with him that day?
I was upset.
You were
I
angry.
wanted to talk to him.
Just a minute. You were angry.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you were angry and you called Robert to go over with you.
Right.
What happened when you got there?
I went up the stairs.
And where was Robert?
Sitting in the car.
Go ahead.
And I was going up the stairs and I asked him, you know, why did he do that? I said, you know, I'm trying to get money.
What do you mean, sir? Going up the stairs, I didn't hear him at the door. I didn't.
Oh, he was outside. When we pulled up, he was standing outside smoking, and we could see him the way his house is. There's stairs that go up this way, and you got to go around.
So you're
the
going
ledge.
up the stairs, and as you're going up the stairs, what are you saying to him?
I asked him why he was, you know, why did he claim the kids?
That doesn't sound right to me, madam. You were asking him in the same kind of voice you were asking me?
No, I was angry. I mean, I wasn't yelling and screaming, but I was talking a lot louder than what I am now.
I assumed you were. Go ahead.
And I told him, I said, you know, that's not right that you claim Tyler. It's not right that, you know, I said, you haven't paid child support. You haven't come to see your kid. And I said, you know, you can at least let me claim the kids. You know, I'm like, I'm trying to make it on my own.
That's not, you weren't having this whole discussion as you're walking upstairs, madam. That doesn't sound logical. If it doesn't sound logical, it's not true.
By the time I was steadily
I mean, I know what
talking
you're thinking, but that's not what you were saying to him as you were walking upstairs furious because you had just gotten the call from H&R Block, and the first person you called was Robert. How tall are you, Robert?
6 foot.
Yeah. Called Robert to come over with you. Okay. So you're walking up the stairs screaming. Go ahead.
I get around the corner, and we start talking, arguing. I told him that he's not a good father. We started arguing about that, about him not being a good dad and him not coming to see Brendan. I did tell him that he was stupid, and he asked me, you know, because I had called the IRS and found out that he can't legally claim Tyler. And that's what I told him he was for. And
no, you just said you was. because I called the IRS.
Right.
You didn't go through this whole explanation. You just said, listen to me. Don't make things up as you're going along. I can tell I have a truth meter back here. When somebody has given me the business, my left eye starts to twitch. You got it? So you told him because you called the IRS.
Right.
Okay. And what happened next, Miss Burke?
I again told him that he was a bad father, and that's when he had smacked me in my eye. And he went in the house. I went running down the steps and got in the car, and I left.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes.
Incident number 2. Did you seek medical treatment?
No.
Can I clarify that day? First, on January 24th, I called her because she told me she moved to South Florida and she was living with her brother in South Florida. Up until February 3rd, that's where I thought she was living. She told me if I tried to call down there to be in my son's life, she was going to get me in trouble for harassment. So I called the police to verify that. They said she could say whatever she wants, but it would be
Can we get to, please, to February 3rd?
February 3rd, I spoke to a family lawyer and the county courthouse. I couldn't file anything because I didn't know her address. That night, I got home from work. I was playing PlayStation, got a phone call on my cell phone, answered it, and there was low signal, and it didn't come in. She called back about 2 minutes later. She said, "Good, you're home, I'm coming over," and hung up on me. She pulled up. I was standing on the balcony. She got out of the car, and her first words were, "You're an effing thief."
Go ahead.
So I went right in the house. I shut the screen door, and we were separated the whole time by a screen door. Robert, I didn't know he was there until I got the copy of the police report. I never once saw him there. I called the police the minute she said, "You're," and she left. Called the police, explained that she falsified a report once before. I don't want to be in trouble. They assured me I wouldn't be in trouble. Police officer showed up at my door, told me that I was accused of hitting her, and I basically ended up going to jail.
How long?
For overnight.
What I don't understand, Miss Burke, is this. You testified a moment ago that you were afraid of this man, that he had been abusive to you. So I don't understand why you went over to his house.
Because I didn't think that having somebody with me that he would do anything. I didn't think that he would do that.
The person that you brought with you was sitting, according to you, in the car.
Right.
And the first words out of your mouth were what?
I told him he was a thief. I didn't...
No. You told him he was a blank thief.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I told him he was a thief.
Okay. So the first thing that you said to him was, "You're a thief," as you were walking up the stairs.
Yes.
You were angry, agitated. Did you think that that was going to provoke him? Especially since you were wrong.
You're right.
And you think that if you hadn't gone over there to this person that you were really afraid of, that all this would have happened?
I didn't honestly think that he would do something with somebody there, because when we did pull up, he was leaning, smoking a cigarette out over the...
Well, what did you intend to accomplish, Miss Burke? He had already claimed your son. You thought 2 sons. But he had already claimed your son on his tax returns. That was done.
I thought that he would help.
You thought that he would help, and your first statement to him was, "You're a thief"? That's the way you wanted to start this exchange, this friendly exchange? Now, Mr. Selby, have you ever exercised poor judgment with regard to Miss Burke?
Yeah, meeting her, unfortunately.
Well, I'm not talking about just meeting her. I'm talking about other things. Have you ever exercised poor judgment?
Yes.
And have you ever exercised poor judgment when the police weren't called?
Probably.
The primary thrust of your complaint here is that you were embarrassed.
For the defamation of character.
Right. I can understand that that happened. And I think that you deserve to be compensated for that, because I don't believe that you hit her.
Thank you.
And clearly neither did a court. If you ever want to have a relationship with this child, it's your responsibility to go into court immediately and seek an order of visitation and be prepared to enter into an order of support for your son. She didn't move out of state, but she moved away from where the 2 of you were living. Certainly You wouldn't like it if he took the child, would you?
I actually set up dates for him to come see his son.
How
and he
far
won't
away
come.
did you move?
Like 10 minutes. I only live like 10 minutes away from him, and my phone number's
then what are
never
you
changed.
complaining about, Mr. Selby?
To this day, I don't know where she lives.
He's always known where I lived, and he knows my phone number. It's never changed.
Easy. If you say he knows where you live, where do you live?
My new address is 216 Street.
When did you move there?
Probably like a month ago.
Did you give him that address?
No.
So
we
he
weren't
doesn't
allowed
have
to-
that address.
He has my phone number.
Listen to me, Miss Burke. I speak English. It's
I-
my primary language. You say he's always known my address. He's always known where I lived.
From the time that he has been trying to visit his son, he has always known the house that I have
You
stayed
said
in.
that you moved.
I moved.
I don't understand. Stayed in, lived. You know, you're being slick with me. Don't be slick
I'm
with
not trying
me.
to be slick. I'm
Mr.
nervous,
Selby,
and he's had the
you
opportunity.
go to court, establish an order of visitation. That's what you have to do. She didn't move 100 miles away. According to her, she lives no more than 10 or 15 minutes away from where you live. Is that what you're swearing to today, madam?
Yes.
Well, that's what you have to do.
In order, I tried, but I don't have a physical address where she is.
Well, now she just gave it to you.
Right. And in the beginning, she moved right in with Robert. So I wasn't
There's
gonna
no
go
question
visit.
about that. She identifies Robert, and Robert identifies himself as her live-in roommate.
Yeah, it's going to be very
That-
tough
just
for
a second.
me.
Very live-in. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, that's case number 74 on the calendar in the matter of Sadler versus Russell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Sadler, I have a question, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the case. Did that outfit come with a jacket?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I just curious.
Actually, I grew out of it.
You grew out of the jacket? Okay. I mean, the outfit looks nice. It just looked as if it wasn't quite finished. Mr. Sadler, according to your complaint, Miss Russell, who is your former wife, borrowed some money from you, and then she took some money that you had given her to hold for safekeeping.
Right.
This was after she and her children, because the two of you have 5 children together. You have children from a previous marriage or relationship, and Miss Russell has children from a previous marriage or relationship, 5 in total, none that are your joint children together.
Right.
And you were divorced, and then after a couple of months decided that it was a mistake to get divorced, so she moved back in with you, and that, again, didn't work out. But it was during this period after the divorce that is your claim that these loans took place. $900 that you claim was a loan, and $3,600 that you claim she actually stole from you.
Well, more or less.
So give me some dates, Mr. Sadler. When were you married?
2001. December of 2001, I believe. I'm sorry, 2002.
And when were you divorced?
October of 2004.
And when did Miss Russell and her children move back in with you?
In December.
And when did she move out?
End of February. February 23rd, I believe.
Okay. Do you have custody of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
Now let's talk about the loan first. The loan was made, according to you, in December of 2004.
Right.
Tell me about the loan.
Basically, she had decided she wanted to go bankrupt so she could be a stay-at-home mother. And so I had her pull $1,500 out of my home equity. And we actually spent $600 of that on bills, and the additional $900 left was supposed to go into savings where I was going to pay an attorney for her to go bankrupt when that time came. But the money never went into savings or checking. She just held on to it, and it went with her when she moved out. And she never did go bankrupt. And she ended up, from what I understand, just using money to catch up her bills.
Miss Russell, when had you accumulated this debt that inspired you to think about bankruptcy?
Most of my debt was acquired when we were married, and then also in some of our separations. But I've always kept my credit up to par. I mean, I had like 16 revolving accounts, no lates, anything. And during the time that we had discussed me going bankrupt for the family, I didn't pay my bills, and then...
Could you look at me?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a simple question that I asked you.
Okay.
When did you accumulate the debt which inspired you to think about bankruptcy?
Over time, between 2001 through 2004.
Credit cards?
Yes, ma'am.
16 credit cards?
Well, I have I don't have 16 credit cards. I have 16 revolving accounts. I watch my credit like a hawk.
What do you mean 16 revolving accounts? You have lines of credit at banks?
Well, I don't owe any money to a bank per se unless it's through like Target Visa or Wachovia Visa.
So then why were you contemplating bankruptcy?
When Stephen and I were together, I did spend majority of the time as a homemaker, and then I would, you know, go to school, and I did have odds and end jobs. Stephen works on commission, and this past year it dropped significantly, and we had discussed from talking to neighbors and things like that that maybe I should go bankrupt and it's not so hard, and with the idea that Steve and I would be together forever, I didn't have to worry about having my name on a mortgage or having my name on another car loan, that he would take care of that, and then it would relieve some financial burden for us.
How much in debt were you?
We weren't going to go bankrupt on my car because my mom is actually a co-signer, or actually she's the primary for me on that, and we were going to substantiate.
How much in debt are you?
I don't know. I didn't add it up. I didn't go that far. I owe like maybe $8,000 on my Target Visa, $6,000 on my Wachovia Visa, $2,500 maybe to Rooms to Go, and there's Sam's Club, Home Depot. I think I owe them like $2,000.
What do you do for a living?
I am a student. I moved home with my mom and wait tables and things like that.
Your children live with you?
Yes, they do.
You get child support for your children?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
I get $125 a week.
When was the last time you held a full-time job?
I'm not really good with dates.
Are you very good with jobs, is the question, Miss Russell.
I'm sorry, what?
You have 2 children?
Yes.
You have 2 children.
Well, that's a full-time job, but I don't really necessarily
How old are your
get paid
children?
for that. I have a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Your 13-year-old takes care of himself?
Himself.
Himself?
2 sons.
5-year-old's in daycare?
Actually, he's in pre-K.
Now we talk about a full-time job. That's
and
what happens
he's
when you...
actually a very difficult child, not that you want to hear it, because he has issues and he sees a psychologist and psychiatrist and otitis media and all those wonderful things.
You still have to work, Miss Russell.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, there are alternatives to stiffing a whole bunch of people who extended your
I know,
credit.
that's why I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to do it.
Okay, good. Now, let's get to the $900. So far, Mr. Sadler, I haven't heard anything about a loan. I heard that you put $900 away ostensibly for a bankruptcy lawyer.
Right.
And now I hear, Mr. Sadler, that there was discussion between you and your wife.
Right.
Although you were divorced, you were living together as a family again, about the viability of her going bankrupt to relieve the family of all of these bills so that there would sort of be a fresh start. You wouldn't have to be spending your money on that.
Well, it was
right?
more because she didn't want to work full-time.
Listen to me, sir. Were there discussions between the two of you, since you are now together as a family, that this was a viable option to relieve the family of these?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So she was going to stiff the other creditors, but the one creditor that she couldn't stiff was her mother,
Right.
because her mother's the co-signer on the car. You see how you get things, just let people talk and then it all comes together.
And later today,
I ran over there and tried to fish the fish out of the tank with a net and put them into fresh water, hoping that I could save their lives. They were kind of floundering around, but I mean, there was still some sort of life in them.
And they all died.
Yes, ma'am.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Sadler says ex-wife Anna Russell owes for an unpaid loan to retain a bankruptcy attorney. Steve also claims Anna stole money from him.
Oh, so now you can tell me the story about Mr. Sadler, the $3,600 that you claim Miss Russell stole from you.
Okay, basically I got a lump sum of child support from my first wife, and with her going bankrupt, I had agreed that we would use the money, basically like an investment in our family, to pay down on her car, because she was going to keep her car, and that would lower that payment. But the money never got used, and our relationship just kind of went downhill, and basically I told her, I wanted to put the money in savings account because I wasn't sure where, our relationship was going, and I wasn't going to pay it towards her car if we were going to break up.
Is that what you said to her? At the time you gave her, according to you, the $3,600, you said, I'm not putting it in a checking account, I'm giving it to you to pay off your car, but if we break up, I want you to give me back the money.
Well, that never came out, but I mean, she understood that because she
Don't tell me what she understood.
Well,
this is a court, Mr. Sadler.
It was like this. She had even made a statement to me that, we would discuss it if we decided she was going to use the money for something else other than what we had talked about.
You talked about just paying down the car or paying down the credit cards?
Well, first it was the credit card, and then she decided to go bankrupt, and then it was, since she was going to still have her car, just use it towards her car.
So she was going to stiff the other creditors, but the one creditor that she couldn't stiff was her mother,
Right.
because her mother's the co-signer on the car. You see how you get things, just let people talk and then it all comes together. Good thing that they strengthened the bankruptcy laws in this country. Financial planning is not bankruptcy. People sort of think that financial planning is another term for bankruptcy. Okay, how much did you earn last year, sir?
Last year I earned roughly $45,000.
And how much do you get in child support for your 3 children?
I get, for 3 children, I get $50 a week for 3.
What does your former wife do?
I think she works at a daycare at a gym, but she kind of goes in and out of jobs.
That's the reason you have the custody of your children.
Well, there were other reasons, but okay.
Okay. Does she see her children?
Not anymore. She's actually talking about getting for the summer because she lives in another state.
Well, if she gets them for the summer, sir, if you agree to that, you tell her that you'll give her $50 a week for the 3 children.
Actually, I'm not going to
See
give
how
her...
that flies.
I wasn't going to give her anything.
Right. Now, the $3,600 he gave you, under what circumstances?
I think Stephen felt guilty because when we would break up, he would also spend money too. And he was taking out a line of credit towards the house. And even though we were a family unit, the money was only going to go towards his bills, but not help me with mine. And I think that he felt guilty, and that he said if he ever did get the money from Misha, which is the back child support, and I did raise the children for that time, that I could have it, because he considered it like free money. I can even remember when I was even at home with him and my mom was on the phone and he was saying if he did get the money, you know, that I could have it. And I was like, Mom, you know, you need to write down this date, because we didn't really know, because we have an up and down relationship. And
I got it, Miss Russell.
Okay. But he did give me the money and I didn't steal it.
What did you do with it?
I paid it towards my bills. And just to let you know, I didn't just want to go bankrupt. It was, I mean, he was even saying, you know, you need to go bankrupt before these laws come into effect. It's going to be harder.
Well, whatever.
But I do
In any
care-
event, Mr. Sadler, I don't hear anything about a loan, sir. I don't hear anything about a loan for the $900. And I read your complaint very carefully, which I don't buy. I'm going to tell you why I don't buy it. Your complaint, which you swore to, says, she wanted to file bankruptcy and asked for my help, so I agreed to loan her $900 to retain an attorney. Well, that's not true. That's even not what you testified to today, right? So that's false. Then you say, in January, I received $3,600 in back child support from my first wife. I cashed the check. I was afraid if I put the money directly into my checking account, I would spend it. So I gave the entire sum to Anna to put aside for us.
Right.
Now listen to me. In the previous paragraph of your complaint, you say she wanted to file for bankruptcy because she had spent money that she shouldn't have. And then you went on to tell me I agreed to loan her the $900, and then she went on a spending spree and spent approximately $5,000 on her credit card because she knew she was going to file a bankruptcy, so she might as well work up the credit cards, right? Now, a month later, as irresponsible as that is, right? So you would say this is irresponsible, right?
Right.
She was going to file bankruptcy, which means she didn't have money. So she said, I'm going to go out and jack up my credit cards, probably buying things, Christmas presents and things like that, month of December, right, sir?
Well,
but according to you, she did that, and that was financially irresponsible. So the next month you get the $3,600, and since you didn't trust yourself by putting it in your checking account, you gave it to Miss Responsibility to hold for us.
Steve Sadler says ex-wife Anna Russell owes for an unpaid loan to retain a bankruptcy attorney. Steve also claims Anna stole money from him.
I don't buy it, Mr. Sadler. I don't buy the $900 loan to your former wife, and I don't buy the fact that you gave her this money to hold for us. I believe that you gave her this money to pay down her credit card debt, and she owes you absolutely nothing. Zippo, nada, goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's about getting back what I felt like should have been returned to me in the event our family fell apart.
He actually had me served with papers trying to have me arrested, saying that I stole the money.
We've broke up, God, probably 16 times in the last 4 years, and I'm not about to say it's the last time.
I'm currently reading the book, He's Just Not That Into You, and if I had to give my own words of it, I would have to say he's just not that into you if he sues you and tries to have you arrested.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kerr versus Guthrie, step forward, please.
26-year-old account manager Lisa Kerr is suing her ex-boyfriend, Private Eye Gary Guthrie, for a loan to buy a spy cell phone. Gary says the spy equipment was a gift.
Ms. Kerr, who is this?
This is my witness, my friend Lindsay.
Mr. Guthrie, who is this?
This is my brother Adam in witness.
This is the situation as I understand it. You and Mr. Guthrie dated briefly. Was it a time he was separated from your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And for some strange reason, according to you, Mr. Guthrie, who needed some spy equipment, that's your business, you're in security, surveillance, and you agreed to put it on your credit card, this piece of equipment that he saw that he liked. And you did. According to you, he said he was going to pay for it. The piece of equipment came, you and Mr. Guthrie no longer an item. Mr. Guthrie says that the spy equipment doesn't work.
Correct.
So he's not paying for it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Well,
Well is not an answer, Mr. Guthrie.
Well, I
if it
assumed it
worked,
was a-
listen to me very carefully, sir. If it worked, were you going to pay for it? Just a second. The questions get harder. What's your first name?
Gary.
Gary? Listen to me, Gary. Try not to play with me, sir, otherwise you're going to look like an idiot. If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That wasn't hard, was it, Gary?
No.
Did you actually think you were going to come here and make a fool out of me?
No.
So it didn't work. And you told the plaintiff it didn't work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the company said, send it back to us, and while you're not going to get your money back, you can buy additional merchandise.
Or switch it out for another one that might work if it
Or
came.
switch it out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understood that, right, Gary?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how mellow Gary is getting now? Gary gets it now. Because in Gary's answer, he thought he was being a wise guy, and he told me first it was a gift from her, that she bought him a gift. And then she changed her mind because she went back to her husband and they got this big bill, and that's why she's probably coming after him. That didn't ring true to me. So that's why I asked Gary if he was intending to pay her back for it if it worked. You understand, Gary? Then you bring along genius with you over here. Because the idea was, according to you, and you agree, that you were told to pack up the old equipment and send it back to the company. And you brought her over the box.
No, I didn't actually bring the box.
How did she get the box?
Through my brother.
He brought her the box.
Yes.
And she paid for sending it back.
That's correct.
Not you. She paid for sending it back. Now, genius, you can stand up.
Lisa Kerr says ex-boyfriend Gary Guthrie owes for a loan to buy a spy phone. Gary claims the phone was broken and he tried to return it.
You got a first name?
Adam.
You didn't pack up the spy equipment, did you, Adam?
I was told
Is not an answer.
I did pack up the equipment,
You did?
but I grabbed the wrong device, apparently.
What does that mean, genius?
When I gave it to Lisa and she shipped it off, they could tell her it was the wrong device. But I did not know because my brother was out of town. It was a phone call that told me to pack up the device.
What did you tell your brother to do?
I told him to grab my cell phone and back it up to get to her.
Your cell phone? Well, that's not a spy piece of equipment that costs $3,400.
Well, if you've seen my other cell phones, you'd understand that I have a lot of cell phones, and all my cell phones are pretty high-tech.
I somehow think, Adam, that this was a little scammy-whammy that was going on here, kids. You sent back the wrong thing. Did you send back the wrong thing?
Yes, by accident.
Ultimately, you found the device and it had not been sent back, right?
Correct.
When you found the device that had not been sent back, what was the first thing you did?
Well, I told her I obviously missed.
So the first thing you did was call her.
I tried to attempt to. I wasn't able to get in touch with her.
So you did call her.
Yes, once I found out it was the wrong device.
Well, then I want to know, what date did you find out it was the wrong device?
Mid-December, somewhere in the middle of December.
And when did you find out that they didn't receive the device?
It was right around December the 18th or 20th.
And when did Mr. Guthrie call you?
I actually never spoke with him about that until I had left to go on Christmas vacation, and I ended up breaking my leg. So I was out of commission for a few months, and I finally got a hold of him again in March.
So between December, when he found out that he did not give you the right piece of equipment, and March, are you telling me he never called you?
Not that I spoke with him, and not a message that I got from him, no.
So he never called?
No, ma'am.
As far as you know, he never called?
Right.
What did you do with the piece of equipment, Gary?
Well, come mid-April, we were fishing, and I was trying to get the device to work, which is the whole issue, how it didn't work. And out of frustration, it actually ended up in the lake.
So, Gary, who do you think ought to pay for this piece of equipment?
Well, my assumption, seeing that she didn't call me back for that period of time.
Didn't call you back? Did you send her a letter?
I didn't send a certified letter, Your Honor, no.
Did you send her back the piece of equipment and say, I'm sorry, my idiot brother made a mistake? The answer is no. The answer is you took the piece of equipment and you threw it in the lake. It's according to you. I don't know whether I believe you or not, but that's according to you. When did you throw it in the lake, Gary?
Let's see, April, mid-April.
So, you could have done a lot of things. The first thing that you could have done was try her once on the phone, if I believe that. You couldn't get her in. So you packed the piece of equipment up and say, I'm sorry, this was a big mistake. That's in December. I'm going to bear the burden of sending it back to the company. I don't want you to send it back for another $70 because my brother doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback, right? You chose not to do that, Gary. Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband? Huh?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed that she went back to her husband, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it. How much was it?
The original purchase was $3,035. The other items that he chose to replace it came to an additional $223. They wouldn't send me a return authorization.
Just a second, you mean you bought other stuff, Gary? Gary! Did you buy other stuff? You bought another $223 worth of stuff?
I was trying to exchange, yes.
You were trying to exchange it for the wrong piece of equipment that your brother sent back.
Something that actually worked.
Just a second. You bought some other stuff despite the fact that your brother sent back a bad cell phone instead of this piece of spy equipment.
I wasn't aware that he'd done that, Your Honor.
Well, did you send back the other stuff that you purchased for $223?
I never received it.
We never received it because we had to give them the list of the items that we wanted in replace of it. After we gave them that list, they gave us the return authorization. Once they received the phone, they were going to send the items. Well, they never received the phone.
So they never sent the items. Why? Then you shouldn't be charged for them.
But I have the email where it says we have to charge your card prior to even giving you the return
Then you
authorization.
have to call them and say you never sent those items. Do you understand? I'm not charging you for those. That you take up with the company. They never sent you the merchandise. They can't charge you.
I have done that. It's a company in Thailand. It's really the only way I can communicate with them is through email.
Well, then I would suggest that you be smarter next time and not deal with a company in Thailand and not deal with Gary.
Understood.
And his brother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,035. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 46 on the calendar in the matter of Wallentyne versus Tomaselli. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Wallentyne, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a party, causing you physical injury. You had substantial dental bills. You still have some work that has to be done. You want to be compensated for the assault. Mr. Tomaselli says that you started it, he finished it, and you were unruly. You touched him first, and he acted in self-defense. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What is your name?
Amber Trill.
This is the lovely Amber. Sit down, Amber. I'm not with you yet, but I will be. When did this happen, Mr. Wallentyne?
If I could recall the exact date, it would be
The questions
April
are going to
3rd.
get harder. Listen to me, Mr. Wallentyne. The questions are going to get harder. The date should be something that's fixed in your memory.
The night of April 3rd, 2004.
See, we're not going to play with each other. The only one that has a good time here is me. And you and the lovely Miss Amber were at a party together?
Yes.
Whose party was it?
Kind of my party, a going-away party.
Going from where to where, Mr. Wallentyne?
I am from New Mexico, so I was visiting. I do live in Seattle right now.
And in whose house was the party?
It was kind of an office building that they renovated into a music venue.
And how did Amber get to the party?
On her own, driving.
You don't know how she got there?
No.
Was she a friend of yours before April 3rd of 2004?
Yeah, we've known each other for about 3 years.
But you did not know Mr. Tomaselli?
I did not know.
All right, so give me your version, please, of what happened on the evening of April 3rd.
It was going well. The music was going. I did notice Ed and his friends hanging out at the party earlier. I didn't.
Mr. Valentine, could you try to focus on me, sir? Focus on me. Not up in the air, not in the heavens, not at your shoes. Try to focus on me. So when you're thinking, you can think and look at me at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
To my left, Amber was standing in the corner, talking with some friends. We gave each other a hug. We ended up talking for about another 5 minutes. Finished continuing going into the hallway where Ed was standing. She said, "Oh, hi, Ed. This is my friend PJ." "Hi, Ed." And instead of extending his hand out to greet me, he just cocked back and punched me in the face. And at that point, I started bleeding. I stepped back and exited, went to my car because I'm bleeding. I didn't want to fight. I just went, it's my party.
How come you didn't call the police?
Because he had left already. Sure, I could call.
How do you know he left already if you went to your car?
Because Amber dragged him out, and I noticed this while I was leaving.
Okay, Mr. Tomaselli, now let's hear your version of the events.
On this night, I'd gone to the party. I was with my friends.
How did you get to the party?
I had taken Amber out for a couple of cocktails earlier, and while we were having cocktails, I don't drink, but Miss Triolo was. She said she was going to a party she was going to bartend at. "Would you like to go?" I said, "Sure." We were going to hook up, go to this party, hopefully go home later to my house. Maybe not. We weren't an item at that time.
Could we, listen, I'm not interested in the potential romance.
Okay, but this is how I got
there. Shh. I'm just interested in how you got there. So you knew her before.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long had you known Amber?
About a year and a half.
Had you dated?
Yes, Your Honor.
You dated exclusively or just off and on?
Off and on.
All right. So you saw her on the evening of April 3rd, you had a couple of drinks with her, and then she invited you to come to this party.
I did not drink, Your Honor. I don't drink. I haven't drank in years. I'm a wrestler, athlete, professional athlete.
Okay.
I didn't drink, so I went to this party. Amber was already there. We were standing in a circle.
Who was we?
Me, my friends, and Amber.
Could you look at me when you...
Mr. Valentine came in from outside, started snuggling up next to Amber. Amber introduced us all. I said, "That's messed up," because they were snuggling. I thought I was going to be with Amber, so I walked away. When I was walking away, Mr. Valentine came up behind me, pursued me down this hallway, and said, "What's up, dog?" Okay, he did not put his hand out. He had his hand clenched, and he reached out to me. Through my experience...
How did you see that, sir, if you were walking away and he was behind you?
I was in the hallway where I turned around to see what was going on. I walked through the hallway, there was a lot of people. I turned around to see where my buddies were, and Mr. Valentine was behind me.
Yes.
He put his hand on my shoulder, said, "What's up,
How did he
dog?"
put his hand on your shoulder?
Reached out towards me.
Touched your shoulder?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
At that time, I turned around and said, "I'm not your dog." And yes, I did hit him. Through my experience and expertise, I know when someone comes up behind you and says, "What's up, dog?" he has bad intentions. A man this size has the potential of hurting me, someone my size, very badly.
All right, Amber. Front and center. You and Mr. Tomaselli were out earlier that evening?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli did not drink?
No.
You got to the party? You went with him?
No.
You went in your own car?
I believe so, yes.
Try getting it more specific than that. Did
Yeah,
you go in
I
your own
drove.
car or did you go with Mr. Tomaselli?
No, I drove.
So you met there?
Yes.
Why do I feel as if I'm telling the story by myself? These are not trick questions. They may get harder, but right now they're not trick questions, Amber. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You were present at the time that Mr. Valentine was struck in the mouth?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened. Try looking at me when you tell me how that happened.
We were talking, Patrick and I, and Mr. Tomaselli walked up and I said, "Hey Ed, how's it going?" I gave him a hug, told him hi, and I introduced him to PJ, and instead of them meeting each other, he just socked him in the face.
Why would he do that?
Jealousy.
He wasn't drunk or anything, right?
No.
he was clearly angry because he said, hey, that's messed up. Right, Mr. Tomaselli?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, who are you?
My name's Kyle McElroy.
Kyle, you were there that day.
I was there that evening.
Good. And I know that you're dying to tell me your version of these events, aren't you, Kyle?
I can't wait.
Well, then just step up here, Kyle. Kyle, how old are you?
I'm 21.
How long have you known Mr. Tomaselli?
I knew none of the parties that night.
How'd you get to this party?
Through a friend of mine. It's a Wednesday night kegger that, as far as I knew, it was like a deal that they had every Wednesday.
Wednesday night, the West Wing is on. Why would anybody want to go to a kegger?
So, would you like me to tell my story?
Would you?
Okay. Like he said, we were standing there talking. Amber, we were sitting there talking to Amber. This guy walked up. We were introduced. We were standing there. Then Ed got, frustrated, decided to...
Just a minute. I'm going to ask you to speculate. Why did Ed get frustrated?
Well, like you say, the girl he thought he was coming to meet at the party was...
Canoodling.
So...
with somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I saw Ed walking away. The guy kind of came up behind him and kind of turned his shoulder. What's up, dog? Ed said, I'm not your dog.
Well, you just did something. You said, what's up, dog? And then you did something like extend your hand.
But kind of, yeah, well...
What does that mean?
Well, like I said...
Touched him on his shoulder, right?
Yeah. Ed took it as a threat, obviously. Punched the guy.
Sit down.
Thank you.
You too. Mr. Tomaselli, you're clearly a very powerful young man. You are proficient in the martial arts.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that they teach you, because I know I have grandchildren who take these martial art classes, is you're supposed to be able to control yourself, Mr. Tomaselli, right?
Yes,
it's all
Your Honor.
about control, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think you controlled yourself well that night, Mr. Tomaselli. I think you got very angry. You can't even make an excuse that you'd had something to drink, but you hurt him badly. And there was no aggression on his part, not even according to your witness. He was probably stupid drunk, but he's just sort of a big goof. Mr. Tomaselli, I want you to trust me. He's really just sort of a big goof.
If you say so, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Tomaselli, he didn't come up behind you, spin you around, and punch you. He came up, he put his hand on you, and said to you, what's up, dog? Now, I don't know what that means, and I may be out of things. My children are older than Officer Bird's children. Do you know what what's up, dog means?
Sure.
What does it mean?
How you doing, man?
How you doing? That's what it would seem to me to mean. What's up, dog? It's not necessarily a term of endearment, but it's not, choose your weapons. We're going to, we're going to joust.
Not from my mouth, at least.
Oh, you're just a big doughboy. He's you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a bad guy. Let me see your dental bills, Mr. Valentine.
The first occurred is for the infection. I got all puffed up and in pain. I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and
you're right.
That
I
had
know.
to get antibiotics, painkillers, so I could finally sleep and go back to work.
Which tooth was it? The tooth that's missing?
Yeah.
That one? You need an implant there?
I still need to get my implant.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, young, 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patrick Wallentine says fellow partygoer Ed Tomaselli punched him in the mouth. Ed says Patrick was too friendly with his date.
What do you do for a living?
I do a lot of things, but right now
What you just said, what's your favorite thing?
My favorite?
Yeah. You do a lot of things, so tell me what your favorite,
My
what
favorite
your fave is.
is to sing and host people, kind of like parties.
This is so painful.
That's my favorite thing. But right now, I do have a painting business and a construction business that I work for. So I can do anything.
Can't put in an implant.
I can't.
See what I mean? Mr. Tomaselli.
Yes, Your Honor.
Harmless. You misjudged his intent. Put your hand down.
Sorry.
All right? He's a lover, not a fighter. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to hurt you. And you overreacted because you were angry. And you have to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ed didn't tell the truth. I did not touch him.
It was a tombstone, flying ruckus, left.
I fell back, and that's all, and I walked out.
Went down like everybody.
Maybe he's been choked a couple times, can't really remember it quite straight.
When they step up to the plate, like Hank Aaron, they just knock him out of the park.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLean versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Meat cutter Michael McLean is suing the mother of his son, nurse Lachelle Clark, for the return of child support. Michael says money was taken from his paycheck while their son was living with him.
Mr. McLean, you and the defendant have a son together.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
And it is your claim that your son was living with you for a period of time at his mother's request.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, they were taking child support out of your check.
Yes.
And Miss Clark knew that the child was living with you, and she was the only one that could stop this child support
Yes, ma'am.
payment. She did not, and you want her to pay you back the money that you sent, or that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
taken out of your check, for your son while he was living with you.
Yes, I wanted her to stop it immediately.
And Miss Clark says, well, it was only temporary, and she was providing some things for him also.
Yes.
Right? Okay. How old is this child?
He's 11.
And why did he go and live with his father, Miss Clark?
He went to live with his father because at the present time, my landlord went up on my rent $300 because I had lost.
You were having a problem with housing.
Excuse me?
You were having a problem with housing?
Yes.
All right, that's the bottom line.
Michael McLean says the mother of his son, Lachelle Clark, accepted child support payments after their son started living with him.
So when did you call Mr. McLean and ask if he could take your son?
Around the 1st of January when I first started having my housing problem.
And when did he actually go to live with his father?
The 28th of January.
Is he still there?
Yes.
And how much is the child support order, Mr. McLean?
I want to say $272
a month.
What do you do for a living, Mr. McLean?
I'm a meat cutter, meat manager.
How many children do you have?
I got 3.
Do any of them live with you? You have to think
no.
about that? None of them live with you?
No.
Do you pay child support for any other children?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Clark?
I'm a nurse.
How many children do you have?
2.
Well, I know one is living with Mr. McLean. Where is the other child?
The other one is with his father also.
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
What do you mean? Because me and him have an understanding. This thing right here, I can't have
just listen to me. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Clark.
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Well, listen to me. Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
Oh, well.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. There's only one attitude here. And Officer Byrd will tell you that that attitude is mine. So let me give you a primer course in parenting. When 2 people have a child, it is the responsibility of both parents to support them. So that if while your son is living with his father and you buy him things, clothes,
and anything else he needs.
Just a second. Clothes, doctor's visits, extra school activities, sneakers, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
You're also supposed to be responsible for your child's portion of his rent, gas, electric, food, telephone. That's what his father is taking care of. He's not supposed to be sending you money so that you can spend his money on clothes for your child. That's money that you're supposed to be paying out of the money you make from being a nurse. So when your son went to live with his father, the child support should have terminated. The truth of the matter is, while your son is living with his father, you should be paying his father child support. And if you're not paying child support to the father of your other child, when your other child's living there, you're doing the wrong thing too. So let's figure this out. There are 4.3 weeks in a month times 4. Oh, got to turn it on first. 4.3 times 4. No, that's wrong.
Can I have it?
Yeah, you figure
His
it
child
out.
support was stopped in April.
What?
His support was stopped in April. We went to
So
court
just
about
a
this
second.
matter.
It was stopped in April.
8th, 408.
April 8th, so we just need 2 months. So it's 272 times 2. $544.
That's right.
Where do you get $1,136 from?
I must have underestimated the cost of it, but I also wanted to where I had to go file for court.
I'm sure she had to go. I'm sure she had to go.
No, you
don't. Don't speak to each other. You want to speak to each other? You do that outside. Here, you only speak to me. Okay. So let's say you had him for an additional 3 weeks. It's approximately $150. That would be $694 that you paid for support while he was living with you.
Yes.
Is she paying child support now? Did she pay you any child support in April or May?
No, she haven't.
Got away with murder. What you should have done is when you went in to have the child support stopped, you should have sued her for child support. Put your hand down. As long as the child is living with you, you have the right to sue for child support against the non-custodial parent. Tap your fingers. You may not like the message, but don't kill the messenger. That's the law. Just like when your child is living with you, you sue the non-custodial parent. Just because he's the father doesn't mean you get a free ride. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $694. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 50 on the calendar, the matter of Aarons versus Payton. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. You folks have a seat, please.
All right, Mr. Aarons, it is your claim that Mr. Payton assaulted you.
Correct.
There is sort of a companion case here that I will address either during this case or at some point immediately after involving a Mr. Spear. Is that you?
That's correct.
And you weren't actually there during the course of this whole event, but you allege your car got damaged by Mr. Aarons while he was drunk. When did this assault take place, sir?
The assault itself occurred at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was with my friends.
I need a date, sir.
December 18th. At
12/18/04.
Correct.
Where were you?
I was in the parking lot of the Hilton Hotel, located in Corvallis, Oregon.
What were you doing there?
My friend had a party right next door. It was his birthday party.
And what time had you arrived at the party?
10 o'clock.
How many people were there?
Roughly 8.
A lot of drinking.
Yes, we were all over 21.
I didn't ask how old you were. I said there was a lot of
Yes, there
drinking.
was a lot of drinking.
What were you drinking, Ben?
I was drinking Miller Lite.
Nothing other than beer.
Correct.
And what happens?
We were outside, out front. There's a fence separating his house and the parking lot. And we were out front there. I was with my friends, Jason. Well, they're actually acquaintances. About 3 girls came out of the Hilton Hotel. At that point, we called over to them to come over and talk to us. So they came over to where we were.
What did you say to them?
I don't exactly remember exactly what we said, but we said, hi, what's going on tonight? What are you guys doing at the Hilton? At that point, approximately 3 to 4 men came out of the hotel and immediately came over to where we were. Mr. Payton targeted me specifically, and he started going after me. I could tell he wanted to fight. He was very aggressive towards me.
Well, tell me what he did, sir.
He said as soon as he came out of the hotel, he said that he saw me looking at him and saluting in a Hitler-like way. And I don't know what he was talking about.
Do you know what he's talking about, Mr. Payton?
I know exactly what he's talking about.
What is he talking about, Mr. Payton?
When I walked out of the hotel, we walked over to the young ladies, and they seemed upset, so I walked over and asked him to stop, and he was on the other side of the fence, and he gave me one of those.
Can I interject at this point?
What were you doing at the Hilton Hotel that evening?
The dorms were closed at our university, and I was staying there for a school function.
Okay, and what time had you started drinking that night?
I'm 18 now, I didn't drink.
Okay, Ben. So you're outside.
And I'm speaking with my friends. It becomes a verbal altercation at that point. So I came over the fence.
So you jumped over the fence?
Correct, yes.
Why didn't you just go home like you were planning to go?
I wasn't planning on going home that night.
Well, what were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just out front of his house so that we didn't wake up his friends.
I don't understand that, Ben. You were outside because you were making too much noise to be inside?
That would be correct, yes. At that point, I explained to him what I was doing.
What did you mean you explained to him? What does that mean, I explained to him?
I told him, I repeated the motion of this. I told him that's the only thing I could have possibly done at that point when he came outside. I told him that. He said, okay, that's all right. and then we shook hands. We exchanged names. We asked them what they were doing, and they said they were going to go and get beer and food. So they got in their car and they took off. They came back about 10 minutes later, maybe 15 minutes later, and we were still outside.
What were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just sitting on the curb. There's this curb, we were just sitting there. We were just talking amongst ourselves.
Go ahead.
The 3 girls that were with them, I believe they went straight into the hotel, or they went
they didn't want to talk
entrance.
to you anymore.
I don't know if they didn't want to talk to us anymore, or if they were just
They
going
didn't
back.
want to talk to you anymore. They went right inside.
They went inside.
Go ahead.
Peyton and his friends, they stayed with us out there, and we talked. And at that point, there became a verbal altercation between Mr. Peyton and one of the witnesses, Brown. And I believe it was over food. I believe he asked them if they brought him any food back.
Where is Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown is unable to come.
So he's not a witness.
Okay.
Because
no.
he's not here.
Okay.
So Mr. Brown, one of your friends, asked Mr. Peyton...
Well, he wasn't my friend, he was my acquaintance.
Your acquaintance.
Correct.
On your curb.
Yes.
Asked Mr. Peyton how come they didn't bring him back any food.
Yes.
You think that was because Mr. Brown maybe had a little too much to drink?
Possibly, yes.
Keep going.
So at that point, there was a verbal altercation between him and Mr. Peyton, and I believe Jason might have gotten involved in it a little bit. At that point, I got up and I got in between them, and I pushed them aside, and then I'm not sure exactly what he did. That's about where my memory ends. Shortly after that point, it was because he had struck me to the face. I received a massive concussion. I have photos here if you'd like at this time. You can take a look at that. I fell back, I hit the concrete. I lost about 1.5 pints of blood. You can see my cheek there. It was possibly dislocated.
Looked like you fell back really hard.
Yes. At that point, I had a concussion. I do not remember anything from that point
Good.
on.
Now, Brian.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Like you said, the young ladies did come out the...
Why don't we start with the young lady?
Oh, okay then.
Because you weren't there. The young lady was there first. Is
Can I
that right?
interject at this point?
No.
Okay.
You came out at some point of the Hilton Hotel.
Yes. Ben and his friends were yelling at us, and...
What were they yelling?
To come over and, like, what were our names, and we could tell that they were very intoxicated. And then the boys came out and were like, these guys won't leave us alone. They keep yelling at us, and they're very intoxicated. And so I believe that Brian asked them to leave us alone.
Did you go out with Brian and his friends for some food?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a yes.
Yes.
What happened when you came back?
We got out of the car, and they started yelling and stuff like that, and then Ben started beating the car. And the car alarm...
Whose car was it?
Your
Honor. Your car. He started beating with what? With his fists?
Mm-hmm. And the car alarm was going off. All of us actually asked him numerous times to stop it, and he wouldn't. Brian went up to him to get him to stop, and Ben turned around really fast, and his fist came up, and so Brian obviously felt threatened if he was beating the car this much, and so Brian hit him, and he fell back on the ground and hit his head.
Okay. The police were called?
Yes.
You have the police report?
I have the police report. And
I'd like
is
to
there
see it,
something I
please.
could say? The police interviewed all the witnesses.
I'd like to see both police reports, and Ben, I can read. You don't have to tell me what it says.
Can I just point one out thing, though, please?
Yes?
They interviewed all the witnesses there, and they took down their names. Her name's nowhere in the police report. I'd like
Well,
that.
it may not be in the police report, but did they take down the names of the 3 girls who were...
No, they did not.
Well, so?
I don't recognize her at all. I'm not sure who she is. They interviewed everyone who was there at the time
Listen
of the
to
incident.
me. You were so blind drunk, not a question in my mind, that you wouldn't know her if she came up and bit you in the behind. You said there were 3 girls that came out. It's my job to ascertain who tells the truth and who lies. She told a very cogent story. There is no reason to say that she's lying about being one of the 3 girls that came out that night that spoke to you.
Why didn't the police interview her then?
I have no idea, sir. I have enough trouble figuring out why I'm here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We were drinking, him included. He started picking a fight. I can quote him on, I can kick 2 of your guys' right now. And,
Hands off your hips.
He was assaulted by college football player Brian Peyton. Brian says Ben was drunk and out of control. In a separate lawsuit, Adam Spear is suing Ben Aarons for denting his car.
How did you get the injuries to your hands, sir? How did you get the injuries?
I didn't have any injuries on my hands.
I noted that Mr. Aarons had injuries to both of his hands. He had abrasions and red marks on his fingers that were consistent with him striking something.
This is the photograph of the injury to my hands. This is the dent that my hands allegedly created.
That's one hand. I'll take a look at it. Absolutely.
If you look in the report, it says injuries to both hands.
Right.
If there is injury to both hands, you would see it. The only thing that photo shows is a red strap mark from where I was strapped into the stretcher. You can see that.
No. Police officer noted, sir, that there were massive dents on a car. That would be Mr. Spear's car. And the police officer said to you, did you strike that car? And you said, I don't remember. That was the answer that you gave to the police.
Correct.
Police also said that in addition to beer, you drank liquor.
Yes.
That's what you told the police.
Okay, yes.
You didn't remember to tell me that.
I'm sorry.
Police officer also noted that you and your friends were all drunk. Right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Could I interject with one more thing, please? I have a medical report from when I was there. They did a full body analysis on me. There is nothing in there about any injury to my hands. The only thing I could have imagined that he would have seen is I have a medical injury.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You hit his car. You were drunk, and you fisted his car. You may not remember it, but that's what you did. That's what happens when you drink too much. Ben?
Allegedly, yes.
That's what happens when you drink too much, sir. You act goofy and stupid. You try to pick up girls that don't want to have anything to do with you. You hang around where you shouldn't be hanging around outside. And you act goofy and stupid, and you get yourself into trouble when you drink too much. Isn't that right?
Not entirely, no.
Well, you were acting goofy and stupid, too, according to the police report. All of his friends were drunk.
Oh, does it specify my name in there?
Were you at the party?
Yes, I was.
And you weren't drunk?
They didn't take individual statements.
I didn't ask you that question, sir. I said...
I was drinking, but I was not drunk, Your Honor. I'm here for a reason. I'm not his friend. I met him that night.
Good.
I'm here because I can remember things. Everybody else there was too wasted.
Why? She wasn't wasted.
Huh? I'm talking at the party that we were there.
This young lady isn't wasted, sir.
And you know what? She also wasn't there at the moment of the assault.
Step up. Step up. Go ahead.
Kind of twisted that around a little bit. I'm not denying that he hit any car.
Good. So let's start there.
Let's start
there. He hit the car.
I did not see him hit the car, no.
Okay. So you weren't there the entire time?
No, I was outside most of the time. I was inside for maybe 3 minutes the whole time.
He was there when I actually got hit. And
I was there and witnessed the assault.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it? Okay.
Take your hands off your hips.
We were standing there having drinks. His friends and him among us had beer. They brought a case of beer. We were drinking, him included. He, Mr. Payton, was pretty hot-headed the whole time. The moment he came up, he started picking a fight with me and Brown, who's not here today. I can quote him on, you guys are pretty stupid. I don't want to hang out with you guys. I don't want to sit here and drink with you. I'm going back to my hotel. I can kick 2 of your guys' right now. That set me, who's pretty hot-headed, if you can't tell, and Brown off. We kind of got up in his face, and he did the same. Some words were said. That's when Ben said he came up and tried to break up the thing. He went back to the hotel for a while with the girls. We still hung out with his 2 other friends. He came back out. And
hands off your hips.
All right. He came back out. Some more words were said. Ben, at the time, was sitting on the curb drinking a beer. He stood up. Ben wasn't even looking at him. We were all talking. He walked over to Ben and cheap-shotted Ben in the jaw.
So after they left, instead of going back to the house, you stayed in the parking lot. You remember why?
It's a place to sit. We were there already. I can just stay where I want, I believe. It's not against the law.
I love it when it all comes together. Just let him talk. Right?
That's what you do best.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Here's your problem, sir. Your problem is the statement that you made to the police. And the sum and substance of that statement was that he was loud and obnoxious and drunk.
Yes.
And he kept hitting on Mr. Spear's car.
Correct.
And you told him to stop. And he walked away, and he came back and he hit the car again. And then you hit him.
That's basically, yes, what happened. I didn't intentionally walk to him to hit him. Like, I came back around the vehicle because I walked through the back of the vehicle towards the Hilton.
Whatever. Let me tell you what you said to the police,
Okay.
Mr. Payton. You said to the police, I told him to knock it off. Mr. Payton said that he started to walk away twice, and each time Mr. Aarons began striking the vehicle again. Mr. Payton said that he told Mr. Aarons one last time to quit striking the vehicle, and when he failed to stop, he hit him.
Yeah.
I asked Mr. Payton how many times he hit Mr. Aarons, and he said twice, and that you struck him both times in the face.
Yes.
And you said you were shocked that he fell down because you didn't think you'd hit him that hard. Well, but he was drunk.
Yeah.
Now you can stand up. I'm going to hear this other case. You want to get that folder now because I don't have to hear it twice. I've just heard the facts of the case. This is Spear against Aarons.
Case number 49.
Very good. You have an estimate for the damage to your car?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
Would you like the court fees that's been costing me?
No, just the damage to the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's Mr. Norris? Is he a friend of yours?
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you what Mr. Norris told the police. It says in the police report, this is the interview. Mr. Norris stated that after Mr. Payton told Mr. Aarons 3 different times to stop hitting the car, he walked up and struck him in the face.
Yeah, I'm not denying that I hit him.
You can't do that. Brian, you can't do that. Now, do you have any unreimbursed medical bills, sir?
Yes, sir. Oh, ma'am.
Hand them up. Is that right?
Correct.
You had no insurance.
My insurance was denied, yes, no insurance.
You go to school full time?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. You have a job?
No, ma'am.
You can't hit somebody because they're damaging property. He has over $5,000 in unreimbursed medical bills. You have to take care of that. I say this to you, sir, that I think you behaved badly that night, but for the fact that this young man had no right to hit you, believe me, you would leave here today without a judgment. But the law is clear. You cannot defend somebody else's property with physical violence. So I'm awarding you your judgment of $5,000. You are entitled to that. On your claim, I'm awarding you a judgment against Mr. Aarons for $1,500 so that you can fix your car. Anything you want to say to me?
I have right here a list of all the instances where people were hit by OSU football players in the past several months here, and I believe that this shows that there's a lot of animosity from athletes who are out of line and out of control. This happened at 3 a.m. past courtroom.
Listen to me, sir. I have no particular axe to grind. I don't even like athletes. What I don't like are young people who get so drunk that they can't remember what's happened. According to the police, according to the doctor, you reeked of alcohol, you had no memory of the assault because you were drunk. Because if you had had any kind of negative vibes with them during the course of the evening, and if you were sober, I can't believe you would be stupid enough to sit in the parking lot of the hotel where they were staying, not you. That's what you keep wanting to answer me, sir, and I'm telling you, that's what happens when you're drunk and stupid. Bad things happen. That doesn't mean he had the right to assault you. It just means that your actions, your purposeful actions in consuming too much alcohol was the proximate cause of all of these events that spiraled out of control that night. And if that's the way you can consume your alcohol, I suggest to you that you don't drink anymore. This case is over. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now it's case number 69 on the calendar in the matter of Bledsoe versus Ha. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Bledsoe, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship, according to what I read in your complaint. There came a time when you needed a cell phone.
Correct.
You didn't have sufficient credit to get one yourself. And Ms. Ha said that she would get one for you, as long as you agreed to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
She got a second phone on her account, or was this an account that you had solely for him?
No, it was already, and he took it over.
It was already in existence.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started a business.
Correct.
And you didn't have an office, per se, So that your cell phone was your office.
Correct. We're a mobile service.
So that you had business cards and stationery printed up, all with the cell phone number on it.
Yes.
What kind of business is this, Mr. Bledsoe?
We manufacture and install a paint protection film for cars. It's otherwise known as a clear bra. It's on the front of the cars to protect them from getting rock chips.
From getting what?
From getting rock chips and damage on the front of the car.
This is a lucrative business?
Yes.
And then the two of you broke up.
Correct.
This is what your lawsuit is about. You say that because Ms. Ha refused to let you keep the number to keep the account going, and you lost the number, not only did you lose a lot of business, but all of the cards that you had printed up and the stationery that you had printed up are no good anymore because you had to get a different phone.
Right.
Explain to me, sir, how this is a lawsuit.
All right. We had broken up in March of 2004, and until December of this past year, I was still paying the cell phone bill, still using the phone. She had contacted me and said that she wanted to get the cell phone out of her name, and I said, that's fine. And the following day, we were going to meet down at the Singular store because I needed her to go in and say it was okay for me to have that phone number. And so she agreed to go down there. She didn't show up that day. Then after we tried to meet and she wouldn't come, and eventually she said, I'm not going to give you the number. My brother, who's also a partner in business, also spoke with her on the phone for about 45 minutes one day trying to see what we could do to maintain this number, and she just refused to do it. We ended up that month of February going 33 days without any business due to not having anybody being able to contact us through the new number.
Mr. Bledsoe, let's say I believe everything that you said to me. What you're complaining about is that she wasn't being a nice person, right?
Correct. Correct. She knew without a doubt that without giving me that number, she knew she would hurt business.
Where is her legal obligation to give you that number?
I guess there's no legal obligation that she had to give me that number.
That's true. But Ms. Ha has a counterclaim. She says you weren't paying the bill.
The very last bill, I did not pay the very last bill.
And what month was the very last bill, Mr. Bledsoe?
The cell phone was turned off in the middle of January, so it would have been the December to January.
When did you get that bill, Ms. Ha?
Well, I received several bills, and I actually agreed to let him keep the phone as long as he paid for the bill. His brother first told me beg, and I said, nope, I'm not going to give him the phone. And I totally refused, and then finally, I said, you know what, you can keep the phone, just pay for the bill. I texted him, I said, you can keep the phone. He even texted me back and said, I appreciate that you're going to let me keep the phone. I thought everything was going to be squared away, he was going to go pay for it. He still didn't pay for it, so
well, let me see the bill.
This is
just the one. Are they all outstanding bills?
No, I'm sorry.
Well, then just give me one thing. I'm getting older by the minute. You owed her $497.57.
Originally, she had said that her mother was going to use that phone. Therefore, when I switched the numbers over, there wasn't going to be any cancellation fee or anything like that. Because she drew it out over a 3-week period of time, not deciding whether she wanted to give me a number or not, then they canceled the phone and they added on a $200 cancellation.
They canceled the phone after 3 months, not 3 weeks.
Had he been paying the bill regularly?
Yes, well, it was never on time, but he was until the last.
Well, why do you think, Mr. Bledsoe, that after she said she would let you keep the phone, she decided against it?
If you like, if I could bring my brother up, because he spoke with her directly about that question.
Your name?
My name's Craig Bledsoe. I spoke to Michelle. You know, she agreed to give the number, and I don't know what her problem was, but all of a sudden she wouldn't do it. And then she would, and then she wouldn't.
Just a second.
Yes.
That's a lie.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Try looking at me.
Okay.
This is not an audition for an acting class, sir.
Okay.
Did she ever say to you, you owe a bill?
No.
Is not an answer.
Oh,
did she ever say to you, you owe a bill?
She never said to me that I owe a bill. Yes, he owes a bill.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, come back to you. Did you ever have a discussion about paying the bill?
Yes.
Well, that's the problem, sir. There was some misunderstanding and miscommunication about paying the last bill.
I had no problem paying the bill and, in fact, offered her money so that we could have that phone because that phone number is so crucial to our business.
Mr. Bledsoe, how many months after you broke up, or she broke up with you, who broke up with who?
It was mutual.
Mutual. How much after the breakup did this incident occur in December? When did you break up?
In March.
So for a long time, you had the phone.
That's correct.
And for a long time, there was no problem.
Correct. The problem arose when Michelle and I were dating. We had had 2 cars repossessed. I felt responsible for it. Therefore, I had told her that I would give her $250 a month towards her car payment as long as I could afford it. Therefore...
What do you mean you felt responsible? Why did you feel responsible?
Because we were living together and I was using the car.
Both cars.
And so therefore...
Go ahead. He was using...
I got him 2 cars, and he got them both repossessed. And countless of that, like credit cards he used to take to strip clubs, everything. And I saw a statement... Yeah.
Not true.
Just to sit down. Now I don't need you anymore.
Fair enough, but I got a lot to say about her side of the story.
I mean, I would see things on my statements.
So that things started to get nasty before.
Things have been nasty
Is that
for a
right?
long time, yes.
Before. In any event, Mr. Bledsoe, Ms. Ha has no legal obligation to permit you to keep a cell phone in her name and allow you to keep the number. There is no legal obligation. Being a nice person, she could have done it. She chose not to, even if there wasn't an issue with regard to the final cell phone bill. So you don't have a legal case against her. Moral, maybe, but this is not moral court. It's a legal court. Understood?
Yes.
Very good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's your printer?
No, that's not my printer.
Do me a favor, Bird. Take a look at the receipt and see if it's the same make and model. Oh, I can't believe I went to law school for this.
And later today,
I felt sorry for her that she was with him.
You know who the only person I feel sorry for right now?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jared Bledsoe says ex-girlfriend Michelle Ha owes for maliciously cutting off his cell phone. Michelle says Jared tried to skip out on the bill.
Now, let's get to your counterclaim. As I said, I'm not deciding whether or not you were nice, you were not nice. All I want to know is how much he owes on the past due phone bill.
$497.
No, that's with the cancellation fee. I want it without the cancellation fee.
$342.48.
Good. $342.48. That's what you owe, sir.
We had brought this, we had had a dispute about printer and a computer, so we had brought that to give to her.
Officer Bird will take care of that. That's your printer?
Can you turn it around, please? No, that's not my printer.
Oh, gosh.
I have a printer. It's a gray and black one, and when I got a computer, it came with it. And then when he gave me back my computer, he never gave me back my printer. And I have the receipt right here.
Do me a favor, Bird. Take a look at the receipt that she has and see if it's the same make and model. Oh, I can't believe I went to law school for this.
That was a little Lexmark.
Yeah.
Mr. Bledsoe, does this one work or not work?
It works.
Good. Give it to her. Perfect. He owes you $342.48 for his phone bill. There's your printer. Bye. Good luck. Are you back in business?
Yes, we are.
Good. Good luck to you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I wanted to do this civilly, and he wouldn't take care of it outside, so he likes attention, so I gave it to him.
As moral as she tries to act and she is, what would the moral thing have been to do in that situation?
I just want all ties cut with him.
I just think it's sad that this world's full of selfish people that are ignorant about the things that they do in their life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Austin versus Atwater Mayfield. Step forward, please.
26-year-old retail salesperson Courtney Austin is suing her former friend, maintenance technician Fred Atwater, and his fiancée, 23-year-old restaurant manager Sylvia Mayfield, for collect calls from jail, gas money, and lost wages. Fred and Sylvia are countersuing for harassment.
Miss Austin.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you and Mr. Atwater dated for a little while. Then he went to jail.
Yes.
Why is that funny?
Because we never dated, Your Honor. It was just only...
I said to her, according to her complaint,
Okay.
the two of you dated for a while and then you went to jail. I didn't think the going to jail part was funny. And while he was in jail, he made a series of collect calls to you.
Correct.
And it went something like this. He would call you and ask you to connect him on a three-way call
Correct.
to this lady here.
Initially, it was his sister.
Well, that's what he told you.
That's what he told me.
But I said to
Yes.
this lady here,
Yes.
who happens to be his fiancée or girlfriend.
Yes.
Shh. Now, every time he called you collect, it cost you $2.70.
Correct.
So you want him to pay for that.
Correct.
And then after you found out that he had this girlfriend, somehow you became friendly enough with her so that she asked you to drive her up to jail to pay his bail.
Correct.
And not only did you do that once, you did it twice.
Correct.
And now, Miss Austin, you're bothering me because you want the money back for the collect calls that you accepted and your gas and time when you took her to jail.
That he said he was going to pay for.
Let's go back. You met him when?
He introduced himself by leaving this note on my car.
Okay. Where did he see you?
He works in my complex.
Okay. So it worked. I didn't have to see that. He left a note on your car.
Yes.
You got to know him. According to him, you were friends. According to you, you dated for a little while. What I want to get to is, because I have other things to do today, and this isn't particularly fascinating to me. When women do stupid things, I get frustrated. At first, he told you, when he went to jail, by the way, what did you go to jail for?
Child support order.
Drug abuse and hitting her.
Was it a civil commitment or a criminal commitment?
It was civil.
Civil.
You hit her, and that's how you
Shut
got
up,
in jail.
shut up! He told you when he called you from jail that the person he wanted you to connect him to was his sister. How many such phone calls did you accept under the assumption that you were connecting him to his sister?
One.
And after that, you heard that it was his girlfriend.
No, I didn't know it was his girlfriend until she called me back trying to figure out who was three-waying the calls for him.
And how many calls had you accepted up until that time?
2 or 3.
And how many did you accept after you knew that she was the girlfriend?
It says here 35.
So, now we know that he's lied to you.
Yes.
And he's in jail.
Yes.
Why would you believe that he's going to pay you for these calls when he's lied to you about who the person is?
He's not from that area. Me just moving from Los Angeles to Georgia, I was trying to put myself in his position, needing a friend. So I was trying to look out for him. It wasn't like I was trying to make him my husband, my man, or anything like that. We were friends. And in that, he told me that he had after I found out he had a girlfriend, and I took her, I felt sorry for her that she was with him.
You know who the only person I feel sorry for right now? Miss Austin. How much did it cost you, all this stupidity of yours? How much in phone calls?
Between 150 and 175.
No. Between 150 and 175 is not an answer when you're in court.
150. $150.
Now, Mr. Atwater,
Yes, ma'am.
who's supposed to pay that $150?
Well, since we were friends, I appreciate the call she did herself for me, but
Why didn't she collect the call?
They ain't have a phone at the house.
Quiet.
for one thing, Your Honor, we had a cell phone. We didn't have a household phone then at the time, and we couldn't make collect calls to her, so I thought I would call her. And she was notified before she accepted the call, $270 per call. She had an option to hang
It
up
does
or
not
accept
say
it.
that.
If you say one more word, I'm just going to throw you out. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
She was opted to either accept the call or not to.
Did you tell her that you would pay her back for
I
these
never
calls?
told Courtney I would pay her. She told me every time I would call her and she do the three-way, she'll tell me to hang up and call right back.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, like you get 15 minutes for $2.70. So after the phone call, the 15 minutes is up, she would tell me to hang up and call right back.
And you would do that?
Yes.
And
She accept the call every time.
I didn't.
Sorry.
Am I looking in your direction?
No.
Mr. Atwater?
Yes.
Is it your statement to me that you never said to Miss Austin, please do this collect calls because we have no phone in our house, so if you do this for me, I'll pay you back when I get out?
I never told her I was going to pay her.
I don't believe that. See, that I don't believe. That I don't believe. I believe you told her you'd pay her back for the phone calls. That's
Your
one
Honor.
bit of stupidity. You may not have meant it, Mr. Atwater.
Your Honor,
I'm speaking. What did you ever do for her?
I never did anything for her.
That's what I mean. Why in the world?
Because we were friends, Your
I'm
Honor. That's all
speaking.
we were,
I'm
friends.
speaking. Did Miss Mayfield know that she was your friend?
Not at the time. She was in Miami at the time.
Exactly.
And I did.
Quiet! Just to answer my question. I said, did Miss Mayfield know that Miss Austin was your fiancée? And you said no. That's the only information that I need. Now, as far as taking her to and from the jail, tell me how that came about. Fast!
Basically, he told me that he was going to pay me the money when he got out. She needed to go pay his bail money. She had $500. His employer put up the other $500. I took her to go get the money from the employer. We went. We didn't make it that day. I had to take her back the next day to go pay his bail. They wouldn't release him because he had a drug charge and he had hit her which is originally why he went into jail. Then we had to go the next day, something about getting his clothes because the county would put him in jail.
You didn't have to do anything.
No, I didn't. I did it out of goodness of my heart.
That's right. So then don't bother me about it if you did it
No,
out of the
he
goodness
told
of
me
your
he was
heart.
going to pay me for it. It wasn't like he said he was going to pay
Miss
me
Austin,
for my trouble.
Miss Austin, you did not have a contract with Mr. Atwater, and you certainly
I
didn't
do
have
have one
contract
right
with
here.
Mayfield.
Yes, I do.
Good, then let me see it. Exactly what I said, Miss Austin. It says you can threaten us all you want. We'll pay for your phone bill. Nowhere does it say that they're going to pay for you taking her to and from jail. I believe that he said to you, if you accept these collect calls, I'll put your hand down. That he agreed to pay for the phone bill, but for nothing else. So that's your claim, $150. Now you have a counterclaim for harassment.
Yes.
Get to it fast.
Okay, and that statement right there, what she has on the second page, that was after she brought the cops to our house. So we put it. We put it in writing. The cop told her to go ahead and take it to the courtroom and file the claim. And she did that.
Just a second.
And she did that.
You said here, I'm going to pay you the money for the phone bill. Stop bothering me.
Exactly.
Right.
But she never stopped.
Let's get to your counterclaim. You've got a counterclaim for harassment for $500. I'm going to hear you. 10 seconds or less.
The harassing emails, taking notes to our door, bringing the cops to our apartment complex, where that is not tolerated. We cannot have no kind of commotion going on.
Why didn't you pay her phone bill?
Because I never did tell her that, Your Honor.
I don't believe that. And she was trying to collect a debt. You're not supposed to take advantage of people, Mr. Atwater.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to take advantage of people's feelings and emotions. One girlfriend is in Florida, one friend is here. Friendships usually work both ways. She does a favor for you, you do a favor for her. You did no favors for her. You were a taker. You have to pay her back for the phone. Put your hand down. Are you still bothering them?
No.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out. Yes, case number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Malden. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Ms. Lopez, it is your claim that the defendant, who is the mother of a former roommate of yours,
Yes.
stole your dog and her puppies, and you want to be compensated to the tune of $1,900.
Yes.
The defendant says that you neglected this dog, that she spent over $1,000 in vet bills putting the dog in a reasonable condition, and that she ultimately sold the puppies. We'll find out what you did with the dog. I understand that this was not the first time your dog had puppies, according to your complaint. Is that right?
That's correct.
What kind of a dog was it?
It was a Chipu, half Chihuahua, half Poodle.
Where did you get the dog from?
It was a Christmas gift to my daughter from her father for Christmas of 2002.
How many litters have you had with this dog?
This is the second one.
Who did you breed her with?
It was actually a situation where there was a dog, a poodle, that lived around my area. And I had a doggy door, and the dog was able to squeeze through my gate. And while I was at work, she got pregnant while I was at work.
So what you're telling me is you don't know really who the father was?
No, I do. I know the dog. I know the dog.
So it was an accident?
Yes.
Why didn't you have the dog spayed?
Because I figured that I had it fixed. I had intentions of doing it, but it happened too quickly.
Well, that doesn't happen too quickly, madam. You got the dog as a puppy in December of 2002.
Well,
in 6 months, you had the dog spayed. And if you didn't have the dog spayed, then you know that you run the risk of the dog having puppies.
Well, I had intentions of maybe breeding her, but I wasn't expecting it to happen the way it did.
In August of 2004, she had her first litter?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that the first time that Miss Malden helped you?
Yes, that is correct.
And tell me about that.
Well, I was at work, and I had another roommate at the time. And when she let me know that our dog, Zoe, was going to have puppies, and that she didn't know what to do, so she contacted Christy to help her out.
Well, you told me she called you at work.
She called me, right, to tell me, and
she called you at work, and what did you do, Miss Lopez?
I was going to come home, and she's like, I was going to come home. She said that she knows Heather. Heather's mom is good with dogs, so she's going to call Heather's mother and see if she would help her out. So she...
Why didn't you go home?
Because I was working and I couldn't... I was... because I had... My roommate told me that she was able to handle it, so I didn't go home.
How many puppies were delivered in August 2004?
There were 4.
All born alive?
Yes, all of them.
All of them survive?
Yes.
Did you sell all 4?
I sold 2.
What happened to the other two?
The other two, it was a sad story.
Well, let me hear. I'm interested in sad stories. Four were born alive. You sold 2. What happened to the other 2?
Okay, well, my...
Let's get the story, please. Are the other 2 alive or dead?
No, they died.
When did they die?
They died about 2 months after they were, or a month and a half after they were born.
Were they in your custody when they died?
They were.
Had they been taken to a vet up until that time? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Okay. So now you have puppies that are 6 weeks old that you didn't know how to deliver. 2 of them died after they reached a month and a half old. So that was clearly your fault.
No. It wasn't.
What did they die from?
Well, okay, again, I had to go to work, and it was hot. It was in the summer. So my air conditioner broke, and my dog, it was, how do I explain this? Okay. It was really hot. My dog was, okay. I ended up putting, okay, I had a dog house outside on my patio, and I put my dog and the puppies outside at night because my air conditioner broke at night, and it was extremely hot. It was so extremely hot. Well, it was cooler night, so I put them outside, and again, my roommate and I agreed, that I would, that they would go outside. I'd go to work in the morning. She would go and pick, and take them and bring them back in the house. Well, I went to work, and she ended up sleeping in, and I guess two of the puppies crawled out of their doghouse, and they died.
So again, it was somebody else's fault?
No, it was not somebody else's fault. It was my fault.
Good. Okay, now you should have understood, Miss Lopez, that breeding dogs was not for you.
I wasn't breeding them. It was an accident. It wasn't something...
An accident happens once.
Okay.
Then you take the dog to have the dog spayed.
Right.
You did not.
No, I did not.
So the dog got pregnant again. Do you want to tell me how that happened?
It was by the same dog, and it was the same way.
Same dog, same way, and you did the same thing. You called the defendant.
I called her this time, yes.
I said you called the defendant.
Yes.
I read your complaint, and you called her and said what?
And I told her, my roommate trusted that you helped deliver Zoe's first litter, and I was like, I need to go to work again. And I asked her if I could bring Zoe over so that she could assist in making sure that she was okay, because I realized that her water broke. And so she, I asked her and she agreed. So I went over there and I dropped Zoe off, and I told her that I would come back and, check up on the puppies.
Well, when did you come back?
I went to work, and then I came back the following day.
When did she have the puppies?
She had them that day.
What was the date?
It was January. It was about January 30th.
Is that the date?
So
No.
it was
What's the date?
She brought them to my house on the 20th. She delivered the puppies the 21st in the evening.
She delivered the puppies on the 21st.
Yes, ma'am.
When did she come back?
Sunday.
Which is what date?
Well, that would be the 23rd.
3 days after she brought the dog to your house.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Lopez, between August of 2004, when your dog had the first litter,
right,
and January of 2005, how many vet visits did your dog have?
She had 2 vet visits.
You have the forms?
I don't have those.
What were the visits for?
It was just a checkup. That's it. Getting her shots, and that was it.
What's the name of the vet?
The vet, I don't have that information.
How many dogs do you have?
I only have 1 dog.
Well, if you only have 1 dog, then it's not a problem with remembering the name of the vet. You remembered what happened in August of 2004 pretty much verbatim.
Right.
So just the name of the doctor.
I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog, and 8 puppies, because you couldn't figure out that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Lopez says her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and Zoe's litter of puppies. Christy says Veronica has no right to be a pet owner.
Okay, Ms. Malden, the plaintiff brought the dog to your house on the 20th of January. You delivered how many puppies?
4.
Were you aware of the fact that the plaintiff was responsible for the death of 2 of the puppies that you had delivered the previous summer?
Yes, ma'am. I was very upset when I found that out.
After you delivered the 4 puppies, and they were all born alive?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they all survive?
Yes.
What happened with Zoe?
When Veronica called me on the 20th, she asked me if I could watch the dog. And I said, yes, I'm homesick today, so that'd be fine. I'll watch her for you. And she brought her over, and she said, I think her water broke. And so I watched her, and the dog, her water didn't break, but she kept throwing up. So that happened throughout the whole day on Thursday. Friday, she was pretty much the same, but she delivered the puppies, started around 5:30 on the 21st in the evening. And she had a hard time with those, so I had to assist her in those, pulling the puppies out, because she's so small and so weak.
Somebody have a picture of this dog?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Here's one of when the puppies were 3 weeks old.
Okay. When did Zoe have to go to the vet?
Well, Sunday, Zoe started having diarrhea in the evening. By Monday, she was throwing up. I had put her in my bathroom with the babies and came back at lunch to check on them, and she was laying in both feces and nursing the puppies at the same time. Well, I then called Veronica and let her know, the situation, told her they needed to be taken to the vet. And she
You
said,
remember that phone call?
Yes, I do.
Did you rush home to take her to the vet?
I told her that I was going to come by and pick up the dog.
Did you?
I did not. No, I did not, because she didn't explain to me or go into detail on what exactly was happening.
I mean, is there something thick? She's had your dog the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. She had the dog when the dog delivered the puppies, when the dog was vomiting, which she told you about. She had the dog when the dog had the puppies. Now she's calling you and saying, there's a problem. The dog has to go to the vet.
Right. See, I went to her house. It was 2 days after Zoe, or a day after Zoe had the puppies. I went over to her house to go visit my dog and the puppies.
I'm talking to you about the day she called you and said the dog is sick.
Right. But there's more that goes to that. And
how old's your daughter?
She is 5 years old.
Okay. Have you ever gotten a call from school and what's your daughter's name?
Alexis.
Alexis. Alexis is sick. You have to come and get her.
Yes.
And do you go after work?
And yes, I do.
You go after work. You say, you just hold her there. I'll be there when I can get there.
Yes, I do. I get off. No, I apologize. No, I don't tell her to hold on there. I get out of work and I go get my daughter. I apologize. I was missing.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
That's what this lady said. She said this dog is very ill and has to go to the vet.
I understand that.
What do you understand, Miss Lopez? What you have to understand at your age is you got enough on your plate without a dog. Yeah. You got enough on your plate taking care of yourself. Now you got enough on your plate taking care of yourself and a 5-year-old. You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog, and 8 puppies, because you had 4, 2 you lost, and 2 more you had, because you couldn't figure out that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that. You didn't use your brains to think about spaying the dog when you were supposed to. The dog got pregnant, had puppies. Because of your neglect, 2 died. So it would seem to me somebody in their right mind would say, listen, I'd better have this dog spayed now or move to a house that didn't have a doggy door. Not you. You kept the dog. You kept the doggy door, and what do you know? Neighbor's dog comes in again, and once again your dog is pregnant. And you are running to work. So you call somebody else to clean up after you.
Well, I was working, and she called me and she told me she had already taken her to the vet.
No.
This is after the conversation.
No. You said I'll be there.
Right.
Did you leave work?
No, I did not leave work.
What time do you get off from work?
Sometime in the afternoon, late afternoon.
Your Honor.
So you had no intention of going over there?
No, I did.
Did you go and say, I have to leave work?
Veronica Lopez claims her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and gave away Zoe's litter of puppies.
What was the vet bill for Zoe?
It was $1,900.
Can I see what they had to do to the dog,
$1,009.88. Those are the doctor's notes.
They had to give your dog an IV catheter replacement, fluid therapy, fluid additives, plasma transfusion.
She had to have a blood
Dog was
transfusion.
hospitalized, spayed.
The dog was severely malnutritioned.
A dog that is malnutrition doesn't have 4 healthy puppies. My dog was well loved.
Two men may concern. Zoe is a 2-year-old female terrier. She had given birth 2 days prior. She had been vomiting throughout the day and was in a moribund state. She had a fever, a life-threatening low blood calcium, and had lost 1/2 of her red blood cells. Saving her life required 4 days of hospitalization, a blood transfusion, a plasma transfusion, and abdominal surgery to remove her uterus that was continuing to bleed postpartum.
And I'm not denying any of that information. I know that my dog needed help. But the thing is okay, the first day I went to Miss Malden's house to go look at my dog and the puppies, I saw that they were in good care. I did. I saw that they were in great care. And I mentioned to Heather, for your mom doing, this good deed and whatever, I want to offer her one of the puppies. The first thing that she mentioned was that my mom doesn't want one of the puppies, she wants Zoe.
Well, because Zoe was the neglected one. Miss Lopez, listen to me very carefully, madam.
Yes.
Did you pay her the $1,000 that you spent at the vet?
No, because I didn't have $1,000, and that was.
Well, you didn't have $1,000. Where did she get $1,000 from?
She didn't, and that's not. I told her okay. After she mentioned that, the next day, the following day, after I had the conversation with Miss Malden at work, she told me she was going to take her to the vet, and I told her that I was going to go ahead and take care of it. I was going to take Zoe to the vet myself.
A vet whose name you can't remember. Did you give her back the $1,000? She paid the bill. The answer is
no.
No. Good. Where are the puppies?
I sold them after they turned 6 weeks old.
Okay. How much did you get for the puppies?
I got $300 for 2 of them, $200 for 2 of them, and then I sold Zoe for $300.
Who did you sell Zoe to?
I don't know who they were. I did screen the homes, though.
I don't know if I believe that, Miss Malden.
I don't, really. I don't.
I read the complaint. I read your answer. And I am, quite frankly, sympathetic with your position. But legally, you had no right to sell her dog. You understand that?
Yes.
She has no right to have a dog.
This is correct.
She doesn't know how to take care of them.
Right.
She's neglectful. She has a very full plate. And she has no right to act irresponsibly.
Right.
She caused the death of 2 puppies. She almost caused the death of Zoe because of her neglect, and she was perfectly happy to have somebody else pick up the slack for her. She is not a person who is responsible enough to have a pet.
Right.
But that doesn't give you the legal right to dispose of her dog. So the only thing that I have to come up with is, what are Miss Lopez's damages? Because for every lawsuit, there has to be damage.
Yes, ma'am.
I've already decided that legally you had absolutely no right to dispose of her dog.
Well, Your Honor.
Don't say anything to me.
Can I just...
Miss Lopez, listen to me very carefully. I've just told you that the defendant had absolutely no right to legally
But
to
she was
sell
already
your dog.
trying to convince me to give up my dog.
Absolutely. Because you have no right to have a dog.
No.
Listen, I just told you, there isn't enough up here to take care of yourself. You have yourself and you have a 5-year-old daughter. You have no right adding to your plate a helpless animal that requires somebody else to do a little thinking for it, like spaying it so it doesn't become pregnant twice in 1 year, not taking puppies in out of the sun when it's 90 degrees outside, needs somebody else to think about taking care of them. You don't have that kind of time. I give you credit for working 2 jobs. I give you credit for being a single mom and taking care of a 5-year-old and working to take care of yourself. You have no right to have a dog. You don't have time. You don't have time to make that commitment. And the only thing is, I have to figure out what your damages were. She took over your dog. She had, on a dollar profit, she had $300 that she made, in addition to what she spent on your dogs at the vet. But she also took care of your dog and your puppies for 8 weeks, where you did zippo. No, I'm speaking zippo. Nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, her time in taking care of your pets have to be worth something. If your puppies were with you and you had to tube feed them for 2 weeks, you would have had to take off from work to do that. Otherwise, you would have neglected them and turned them over to your roommate who let 2 of them fry out in the sun. which would have been an unsatisfactory resolution. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Hunting versus Rodriguez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Hunting, according to what I read, there was a poker game that was going on in your home?
Correct.
And the defendant was one of the participants in the game. There was some sort of a disagreement as to who had the winning hand. Defendant lost, and you claimed that in a tiff, when he left, he damaged your car. He says he didn't do it. How do you know him?
He is just a friend of a friend, and he was invited to my house by our mutual friend.
Do you have a regular poker game that goes on in your house?
No, it was just for fun.
How many people were there?
6.
Men or women?
There were 2 women and 4 men.
How many of the men did you know?
3 of them.
He was the only one you didn't know?
Correct.
What about the other woman?
She's my witness, Tristan.
So tell me what happened.
Well, it was August 27th, 2004, and we just had a gathering at my house of friends, and he came with our friend Robert, and I had no reservations about it. I was okay with that. And I think he had been drinking before he came over, but I still wasn't really concerned. He decided to participate in our game, and it had gone on for a good couple hours with no problems. We were all just hanging out having fun, no problems at all. And then when he had thought he won a hand and there was some questions about it, he kind of got defensive and aggressive when we tried to tell him otherwise. And he got angry at us, and he started calling names and pushing people and getting up and getting violent.
So what happened next?
Well, we tried to break it up. He tried to fight my boyfriend. He was calling names. He picked up a bike and actually threw it across the deck and bruised my friend's arm. I have a picture.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why would she make up such a story?
I don't know. I can't
Did
really
you lose a hand in
speculate.
poker?
No, ma'am. I still remember the hand.
Well, was there some sort of a dispute as to whether you won?
Yes, ma'am.
So you won the game,
Yes, ma'am.
and then they told you you lost the game and couldn't take the money.
Actually, her boyfriend had agreed that I won, and then she jumped in the middle, tried to read his card, said, "No, you won, look at your hand." He looked, and then he agreed, tried to take the money. But he already called the wrong hand. He called a hand lower than mine. I started taking the money down. He kept trying to argue with me. She kept jumping in the middle. I admit I did call her, but it wasn't really directed towards her. It was like, I don't want to hear what any have to say when 2 men are playing a game. It's our money, it's our game. No one else is in the game.
The women weren't playing?
No, they already lost.
Sorry.
They already lost all their money, so there's only 3
But the
people
women
left.
had been playing,
Yes, ma'am.
and you did play with the women.
Yes, ma'am.
So it wasn't as if you don't want to play with women, that it wasn't
Oh,
just a
no.
man's game.
No, we were all playing. They lost. There were 3 of us left.
And nothing happened with the bicycle.
No, there was a bike in the way, but I was getting pulled out of their house, and I bumped into a bike. I never picked a bike up, threw it, or anything like that.
Okay, then according to you, Miss Hunting, Mr. Rodriguez damaged your car when he left. How did he damage your car?
He damaged 2 vehicles. He was inside, and it took a good 15 minutes to get him calmed down. We were trying to calm him down. He wouldn't calm down, so he was physically removed from my house.
How was he physically removed?
By our friend Robert.
Is that right?
Yeah, he escorted me out of the house.
He pulled you out?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't want to leave?
No, her boyfriend had tried to start a fight with me, so I stood up. We were in a fight, and he didn't want to fight, and then her mom came in, said we're going to call the police, told her to call the police, you know. They're trying to rob me of my money.
So you still felt as if you were owed that money
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
pot. So you didn't want to leave without your money.
No, ma'am.
So you were pulled out by Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you were pulled out, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, he pulled me out, but right before the door closed, I said, look, you know, I'll leave, but I want my money, at least the money I put into the pot in the beginning. They went and got my money. He gave it to me. He walked to his car and got in and left.
Who walked to the car?
Me and Robert.
Robert was the one who had brought you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still a friend of yours?
Yeah.
See him?
Yeah. He lives on the same street, so yeah, we see
Good.
each other.
And you claim that he damaged cars when he left. Do you have any witness? Did you see him do that?
I actually have Robert here as a witness.
Really? Bring him in. And Robert is your friend?
Yes, ma'am.
So Robert wouldn't lie for her?
I can't speak on that. He's intimate with her friends, so a lot of people do a lot of things when they're with somebody.
I don't think that's important.
Swear the witness, please.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Robert Silva.
Mr. Silva, Mr. Rodriguez says that you're a friend of his. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you known him?
About 15, 16 years.
You invited him to a party on the 27th of August at Miss Hunting's home. Is that right?
Yes.
You were playing poker?
Yes.
And there was some sort of a dispute over a winning hand. We're getting past that. Did you see an incident involving Mr. Rodriguez and a bicycle?
No.
Didn't see him pick up or toss a bicycle?
No.
Did you remove him from the house?
We walked out together.
You didn't pull him out of the house?
Pull, no. I was just, he wasn't done talking, and I think we were done talking, so I said it was time to go.
Now, when he left the house, can you describe what happened, sir?
I told him to leave, and I went to go close the door.
Look at me when you're talking.
And on the way out, I seen him kick Amber's car on the way out.
How many cars did you see him kick?
I only seen him kick Amber's car.
Did you say anything to him when you finally caught up to him?
No.
You didn't say, why did you kick Amber's car?
It's too late. It doesn't matter why. I couldn't stop it.
Oh, no. That's their witness. They say
That's their witness, sir, but you're a friend
kicked.
for 17 years.
Oh, yes, ma'am. But it just seems fugazi to me because...
What?
It seems a little funny to me because they said I threw a bicycle. He didn't see it.
No, he didn't see that.
I kicked 2 cars, and he only seen me kick 1. Oh, no. The story seems wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair. Not that it's really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking.
And later today...
Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber Hunting says acquaintance Daniel Rodriguez vandalized 2 of her cars after an argument over a poker game. Amber has produced a surprise eyewitness.
Did you call the police immediately?
As soon as I saw the damage to the vehicles, I went inside.
Was that the same day, the 27th of August?
Yes.
Can I see the police report, please? How old are you, Miss Hunting?
21.
You live at home with your folks?
With my mother.
And this is your mom?
Yes.
Who, if I called her as a witness, would testify about a lot of bad language that she heard, and she said she was going to call the police, correct?
Correct.
You have photographs of the vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Well, the detective who responded saw the following, Mr. Rodriguez. He saw the damage to the cars. The issue is really, was this old damage, new damage? But let me tell you what the police officer wrote. Second vehicle, 1997 Ford Escort, belonged to Amber's mother, Doreen Hunting. I noticed a circular dent near the driver's side door and chipped paint around the dent. I located several pieces of the chipped paint on the ground, directly below the dent on the door. So you know what that suggests to me, Mr. Rodriguez?
New damage.
Very smart. Now, who do you think had a motive to be angry that night?
I did.
And whose dear friend who invited them to this party says it was you who caused the damage?
Mine.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you were sitting in my place, would you think that I caused the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair.
But
not
I'd
that
also
it's,
would
not
think
that it's
that-
really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking. What are the estimates to fix these 2 dents?
$1,893.
Together?
Yes.
That's a bargain. So not only didn't you win, sir, at poker that night, but your temper is going to cost you $1,893. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was drunkenness, and nobody was really listening to each other, and emotions run high when drinking is involved.
There were a bunch of people playing a game of poker who were too drunk to know how to really play.
It wasn't that big of a deal till my vehicles were damaged.
They were talking, wanted to call the police, wanted to fight.
He was my friend's friend. I didn't think it was necessary. I had hoped that he would calm down.
Told him to call the police. I thought it was a good idea.
I just wanted to handle it right and take care of it, but he denied it.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's no big deal, you know. I've known him 15 years. It's just one night.
Thank you for showing up and taking care of everything, and I'm glad everything's over with.
Interior designer Donna Hoffman is suing her daughter's boyfriend, 19-year-old warehouse worker Daniel Coons for damage to her car and for stealing money from 2 bank accounts.
Your Honor, this is case number 82 on the calendar in the matter of Hoffman versus Coons. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Hoffman, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she still seeing Mr. Coons?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I assume she's not happy being here today.
You're correct.
It is your claim, Miss Hoffman, that Mr. Coons forged some checks of yours.
Correct.
And also took money out of your daughter's account.
Correct.
In addition to that, he had an accident while driving your car. Mr. Coons says, well, he acknowledges that he did forge some checks of yours, but he says that he paid you back that money in restitution by working for you. And he didn't steal as much as you claim he stole, and aside from that, he says your daughter knew all about it. And as far as taking money out of her account, she was aware of that. And as far as the car incident was concerned, your daughter knew he didn't have a valid driver's license. He had a suspended driver's license, so she gave him permission to drive the car, and therefore he's not responsible. Correct?
Correct.
Tell me about the car incident, sir.
I went down to the store. I was driving through the parking lot, and a lady backed out, and she actually bumped into me, and I got out, made sure everything was okay. She said it doesn't look like any damage is done here, and I was all, here's my number. We exchanged numbers, and I said, if there's any further problems, call me. And that was it.
Why should she call you if she backed into you?
I just told her to call me because if it was, we wanted to exchange insurance information later on.
I don't understand why she should call you. She backed into you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I told her, I was like, you know, you backed out. I honked the horn. Basically, everything's all right. There was no damage done.
Was there any damage done to the car?
Yes, there was damage. I have proof that there was damage. And the thing was, he didn't even call and tell me that he backed in. He just, what happened was...
Can I see the pictures, please?
Yes. The other company called me, and that's how I found out.
The other company called you because she was filing a claim?
She filed a claim, yes.
She filed a claim? How could she file a claim? She, according to him, backed into him.
She said that he backed into her. So I
Where was the damage to your car?
Underneath the bumper.
Mr. Coons, when did you notify Miss Hoffman that there had been this little accident?
I didn't notify her.
Okay. Now let's get back to your defense to this action. Your defense to this action is that you had a suspended driver's license, but your girlfriend knew about it when she gave you the car to go to the store.
Yeah. I was just going to run to the store, get some things at the store, and come right back. Your house is like half a mile from the store.
Why was your driver's license suspended?
For traffic tickets that I failed to appear on.
What kind of tickets?
Like 2 speeding tickets.
And?
And a red light violation.
So you're not a good driver?
I'm a good driver.
No, you're not. They don't take away the license of good drivers.
Yeah.
How many accidents?
Shh. Driving a car on a suspended license is...
Illegal.
That's not something that Christina can wave a wand and do away with. That's only something that you have control over, Mr. Coons.
I didn't think it was a big deal, though, just to run down to the store.
It is a big deal, you idiot. When they say you can't drive, they don't say you can't drive except to go down to the store.
True.
Now, just for my own curiosity, sir, what is it that you had to get that was so important at the store? Insulin?
No.
What?
Just some stuff for dinner.
Your Honor.
Just don't say. Does it look like you're losing? Oh, does it look like you're losing so far? What?
I was going to.
Can I tell you something? Christina.
Yes.
He's still your boyfriend?
Yes.
He's an idiot. Maybe you're an idiot. I don't know if you're an idiot or not, but he's an idiot. And if you're going to hitch your wagon to his star, you're going to have a miserable life.
No, Your Honor.
What? Listen to me, Christina. Your mother's been around for a while?
Yes.
Right? You've been married?
Yes, ma'am.
Divorced?
Yes.
How many times?
Once.
Once. Been there, done that, couple of times. Been in the family court? Years. I got a nose. You hitch your wagon to this star, you're going to have a miserable life. Just think about it. 10 years from now, you're going to say, you know, I appeared before Judge Judy in this silly little case that was on television, and she, put your hand down, and she told me if I hitched my wagon to his star, I was going to have a miserable life. She was right. Just listen to me. I don't know about you. You may be a loser, too. Then maybe you belong together. Maybe two halves make a whole. I don't know. But if you certainly don't look it. How much is it going to cost to fix the bumper?
$971.
Good, $971. Now, Mr. Coons, explain to me why you took checks from Miss Hoffman and forged her name and cashed them.
I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing some stupid stuff, and I needed a bunch of cash.
Hanging around with a bad crowd doesn't mean you need cash. If you're hanging around with a bad crowd and you buy drugs and owe somebody for money for the drugs, and you need cash for that, otherwise somebody's going to break your knees, that's a reason. So you want to explain to me what you needed this money for?
Basically, I got into drugs, and I needed cash to support it. And then after that...
Were you supporting Christina's drug habit too?
No, I'd never get into that.
Did Christina know you were doing drugs?
Nope.
So she's not very intuitive, right?
Nope.
You managed to conceal that from her,
Yep.
right? How did I know that, Mr. Coons? It's not anywhere in these papers, sir. Did you think that maybe I have a crystal ball?
Yep.
Experience. That's what I'm trying to tell Christina. How much money did he steal from you?
$1,320 out of my account.
I don't care what he took out of Christina's account. If Miss Stupid wants to stay with him, she'll deal with that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin?
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
And later today,
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Hoffman says her daughter's boyfriend, Daniel Coons, stole money from her and her daughter's bank accounts. Donna says Daniel took the money to support his OxyContin habit.
When did you find out that he took money out of your account?
Maybe a couple weeks or a month later.
Come. Stand up next to your mother, Christina. Here we go. How much did he take out of your account?
I think it was $650.
And you didn't find out that he took the money out of your account until after he took it out?
No, it bounced in my account.
So you didn't know he had done it?
No.
When you confronted him about it, what did he say, Christina?
He told me about it.
Well, what did he tell you?
That he bounced checks in my account.
No, what did he say? Come on. You just say to him, where'd you get the money from? Where did you get the checks from? What did you use the money for? Those would be intelligent questions, Christina. And what did he tell you?
He told me what he used it for and why he needed
what?
it. Drugs.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin.
And after you found out that the checks bounced, did he take any other money out of your account?
No, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
Yep.
I just changed my mind. Because, Mr. Coons, in your answer you say that Christina here knew all about it, that she was aware of it. She says she wasn't. You know that?
She put the checks in her account, so that would... she knew about the checks going in her account, but not them bouncing.
Not that there were no funds.
Yeah, exactly.
But you knew.
Yep, I knew.
But you didn't tell her.
Yep.
Well, then you misled me, sir. You misled me in your answer. Your answer suggested that she was a co-conspirator. All right. So let's understand, Christina, who he is. He stole from your mother.
Mm-hmm.
He stole from you. He's a 19-year-old drug addict. He says you don't use drugs. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
The uniformed groans out here, Christina. The uniformed groans out here, Christina.
Your Honor, he's cleaned up also.
What are you doing now, Mr. Coons?
My uncle owns a trucking company. I'm trying to get my Class A license to drive for him.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
Moving. He owns a moving company.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
I'm cleaning my act up. Making money.
So you want to be a mover?
Yeah, a driver.
What are you doing, Christina?
I work at Express and I'm a cosmetologist.
Is that what you want to do?
Hair? Yes, I do.
You living home?
Yes, I do.
Remember to take those pills every morning. Every morning. Maybe you'll wake up in time. Mr. Coons, did you go into a residential drug treatment program?
Yep.
For how long?
10 days.
That's a crash course, sir. That's a crash course. Did the program recommend that you go into residential treatment for a period of 18 months or whatever and stick with it?
Yeah, that's what they recommended, but...
And you decided that you didn't need that. Is that right?
That's right.
And you decided that you didn't need that despite the fact that you had stolen from Miss Hoffman, you stole from your girlfriend, you have half a dozen unresolved driving infractions, you had an accident with her car. All of those things don't suggest to you that maybe the professionals that told you a 10-day crash course doesn't make it. When you are so addicted to drugs, maybe instead of fooling around, you should go into a residential drug treatment program. But you knew better than the professionals, is that right?
Yeah.
Good girl, Christina. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,941. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The bank called me and said this doesn't look like your signature, so I, of course, called him up and said, hey, what's going on?
She couldn't believe it. And then I was like, you know, I had to admit it right there.
I was saying, you know what, I think something's wrong. I think he's on drugs. And we started drug testing him, and he actually admitted to it.
I want to get married and have kids and do everything, you know, stay clean, do the right thing.
Yes, I see us being together for a very long time.
I would really hope that he would clean up, but I've told her that, you know what, once they start being like this, they're never going to change.
Amy Jimenez is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old customer service rep Ronnie Brooks, for damages due to an assault. Amy claims Ronnie kicked her car and then broke her cell phone when she tried to call 911.
Hello. It's hard to train them. Your Honor, this is case number 457 in the matter of Jimenez versus Brooks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
My money's on you.
Okay.
Miss Jimenez, this used to be your boyfriend. You claim he has a bad temper, and while you were in the midst of an argument, he kicked your car and then body slammed you on your car, causing damage to your car.
Yeah.
Now you're suing him for damage to the car, but not damage necessarily to your body, which causes me some pause, because to me, if somebody took me and threw me against a car, I would sue him for hurting me, but I guess your car is important. And also, you say in another fit of rage, he broke your cell phone.
Yeah.
Mr. Brooks says, well, he did in fact break the cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
But he says with regard to the car, you were trying to run him down, and he merely tried to protect himself by trying to hold back 3,000 pounds with his foot. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did this incident happen with your car, Miss Jimenez?
October 7th.
Where were you?
We were at my house.
How long had you been at your house?
About 3 minutes. We'd gotten into an argument right as we pulled up.
He was in your car?
He'd gotten out of the car and I was still in the car. And we'd gotten into an argument and I didn't want to get out of the car. I didn't want him to go into my house. So I told him I was going to take him home.
He was coming to your house for what?
To take a shower.
Why? He doesn't have a shower?
His shower didn't have a shower curtain. I guess he liked my shower better.
His shower didn't have a shower curtain?
Yeah.
How do you do that, sir?
Oh, we just took baths.
You just took baths in your house?
Yeah.
Why don't you buy a shower curtain?
Lazy, I guess.
How long have you lived in this house without a shower curtain?
It was like 2 months.
2 months without a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
Who lives there?
Well, it was just me and my brother at the time.
Did you used to live with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And your father?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they have a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So he was coming to your house to take a shower because he got tired of taking baths at his house.
Yeah.
probably got tired because if he didn't have a shower curtain and only took baths, I guarantee you that he didn't clean the bathtub.
That's not true.
That is true.
She's lying.
No. Anybody that doesn't have time to buy a shower curtain doesn't have time to rub-a-dub-dub scrubbing out the bathtub. Anyway, okay. So you picked him up to take him to your house to take a shower. You got into an argument in the car. He got out of the car. You didn't want to get out of the car. You wanted to drive him home.
Yeah. Somehow my roommate got involved into this argument. And he went up to the house to confront my roommate. And he assaulted my roommate. And then after that, he came back out, assaulted me, and then...
Well, tell me how he assaulted you.
He pushed me to the ground and kicked me in the leg.
What was the fight about?
That he used me.
Used you?
Yeah.
Used you for what?
Well, he didn't have a car, you know, he didn't have very much money, and I was pretty much there for him.
Okay. So he threw you down on the ground and he kicked you twice. Go ahead.
He continued to follow me around, so I went and got in my car, and he continued to yell at me while I was in my car, and then he started...
What was he yelling?
I wasn't paying attention. I was too disturbed by what he'd just done to me. And so I just sat in my car, and he kicked the hood, and then he kicked the side panel twice. And I have pictures here of the damages that he did.
That's not true, Your Honor. This didn't happen at her house. This happened at my house.
That's not true. She was telling the truth. She picked you up from your house without a shower curtain and took you to her house that did have a shower curtain to take a shower.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go into the house and take a shower?
No, I had gotten into a fight with her roommate.
Okay, about what?
Because he said that I was using her. So I went up to the door, and I asked him if he said something, and he said he did. So he was walking away, and I kept following him, and then I hit him.
You hit him?
Yeah.
What are you, nuts?
No, ma'am.
Where did you hit him?
Well, I didn't really hit him. I kind of put... He was...
He hit him
as
in
he
the head.
Shh. She's lying.
No, look, just a minute. You just said you hit him.
Well, I pushed him in the back of his head as he was walking away. You know, kind of like that.
Not true.
Yeah, it is. And after that, we went into the backyard. We argued for a minute.
Who argued?
Me and him.
Well, I certainly would argue with you. I'd probably call the police. And then you got back into the car?
And she took me home.
So what happened when you got home?
Well, we got home. We were going to go out that night. I said I didn't want to go to the club. She wanted to go, so she got mad. She was in her brother's car at the time. She thought I stole her keys. She kept coming over there after she went home from the club. My witness is right here. Okay, she was cussing, just ran into my house, didn't knock or anything, just walked in. We're in there chilling, you know. She said, "Where are my keys? Where are my keys?" I said, "I don't have your keys." She leaves and comes back, leaves and comes back. She does this like 3 times, okay? Finally, she comes back with her car. And she said, "Where's my keys? Where are my keys?" She's drunk, by the way. I said, "Dude, you're stupid. If I have your keys, how are you in your car?" Okay, so I had to...
That's right. She said, "Dude, you're stupid." Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. So I had to physically take her out of my house to put her in the car. Okay, as I did that, she was backing up. She backed up like this, and then she went forward like she was going to hit me. And I kicked the car. I did kick the car, but she was trying to hit me.
But she wasn't in the car when she did that.
Yeah,
That was my car. That was not my car.
I had put her in the car.
You would put her in the car?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brooks, how long was Miss Jimenez your girlfriend?
2.5, 3 months, maybe.
Did you like her?
Yeah.
Why would you put her in her car if she was drunk?
Because she wouldn't get out of my house.
Weren't you concerned that maybe she would hurt herself driving around drunk in the car?
Yes, ma'am, but she does that all the time anyway. She always drives around drunk. Every time we go to the club, we're both drunk and she drives.
That makes you dumb and dumber. If you get into the car with somebody who's driving while they're intoxicated, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why are you so stupid?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I mean, we both drive drunk. I mean, I know how to drive when I'm drunk. I don't know.
You don't have any children or anything, do you?
Well, I do have a daughter.
Oh, I was going to suggest you not do that. Now, you want to talk to me?
Okay.
Tell me your name.
My name is Derek.
Derek, you have a last name.
Villanueva.
Villanueva.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I pronounce that well?
That's fine.
So if I wasn't so good at pronouncing your last name, we'll just call you Derek.
That's fine.
Derek, were you a witness to this incident that happened on October the 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me where you were, Derek.
I was in Ronnie's house, sitting on the couch, playing the PlayStation.
Everybody's got a PlayStation. PlayStation he has, shower curtain he doesn't have.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. says her ex-boyfriend, Ronnie Brooks, owes for kicking a dent into her car and for breaking her cell phone. Ronnie says Amy was drunk on the night in question.
Go ahead.
Well, first I heard a noise to the left, and it was a foot coming through the door. That would be her foot. So Ronnie took her to the car. Well, like he said, she tried to run over him whenever she backed up and then came forward, and that's what I had seen. I also saw them yelling at each other, but I didn't see him hit her.
He didn't hit her.
No, ma'am.
Because I read her complaint, and her complaint doesn't say he hit her.
That was because his friends were around that time.
Well, I mean,
his friends weren't around him when you filled out this complaint, madam.
Ma'am, she was also drunk, so, I mean, she doesn't even remember me.
Oh, you kicked her car.
I kicked it, yeah, but she tried to run me over.
Yeah, but you kicked it on the side.
He also slammed me on the hood several times.
I made one dent on that car. I only kicked it one time.
You kicked it once?
One time.
Very good. Because these pictures were taken 2.5 months later, right?
They were. My father took those pictures because I did not have a camera at the time.
Well, that's too bad. 2.5, almost 3 months later, you don't bring pictures in of a car.
Your Honor, I filed the police report later on, like a month later. I was terrified of him.
A month later?
He promised me he was going to fix my car, and I was waiting for him to fix it. I went over to his house several times.
Just a second, Mr. Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
I tend to believe the fact that you kicked her car, and I tend to believe the fact that she was drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you, because otherwise she would have filed this police report the next day if it happened the way she said it happened. She waited a month, something happened, and I don't know whether you saw each other socially during that month. Did you or did you not?
Yes, ma'am. About 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, we did.
Where did you go 2 or 3 weeks afterwards?
She always went to my house after that happened.
I have to go to his house because he doesn't have a car.
You mean after this happened, you went to his house?
His roommate lived with him, and I knew if there was other people around, he wouldn't
Just a second. I don't care whether his roommate was there or not. You're making this up as you're going along, Miss Jimenez.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because if you're terrified of somebody, you don't go to their house. That's not what happens. You stay away from them, whether their roommate is there or not.
I was trying to get my car fixed, Your Honor.
Oh, please, give me a break, will you please? Tell me about how you broke her cell phone, sir.
Well, that was at her house whenever I had just got through getting to that confrontation with her roommate. She didn't want to take me home at first, and my clothes were in her car, so I just told her to open her car, and I would walk home. Okay, she didn't want to, so I just grabbed her cell phone and threw it across the parking lot.
And how much did you pay for your cell phone?
She didn't. She got another one free.
Did you get another one free?
Yes. That's what
my
you
friend
told me
bought
last
me another
week.
cell phone because I couldn't afford to get another cell phone.
Okay. Now, how much do you think it's going to cost to pull out the dents in this car?
For the particular part that I kicked, $400, because she had showed me the estimate. She went to my house and showed me, and I said I'd pay for that.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $480. $400 for the kick to the car and $80 for the cell phone. Stay away from each other. Stay away from him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And by the way, one more thing. The entire world knows that the two of you now drive drunk. So if you get behind the wheel of a car and kill somebody, it's not an accident anymore. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand me? Perfect.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My roommate told me that he thought Ronnie was using me.
He didn't have a job, and she was taking him everywhere, and I told her that he was the one that was using her.
Ronnie did use me. He's scum. He's very violent.
No more. That's over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lee versus Gann. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Jonathan Lee is suing his former friend, 20-year-old student Christopher Gann, for killing his fish when he dumped soap in his freshwater aquarium. Christopher says it was an accident.
Your first name is Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're Christopher?
Christopher.
And you used to be roommates?
Yes.
How long were you roommates?
About a year.
You go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
What year are you in?
I'm a third year, ma'am.
I too am a third year.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Computer science.
You don't want to be a veterinarian, do you?
No.
Yes,
Jonathan?
ma'am.
Christopher destroyed your fish tank.
Yes, ma'am.
And based upon those relics there, it was a big fish tank.
Yes, ma'am.
And he destroyed your fish tank with soapy water.
Yes, ma'am.
Killed all the fish.
Yes, ma'am.
He says it was the fish's fault.
More or less, ma'am.
They were in the wrong place in the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And he tripped over them. Is that right, Christopher? I read your answer.
I kind of bumped into the tank, which
because you say in your answer The tank and the fish was placed in a high-traffic zone.
Yeah, I have a set of photographs with the picture of where the tank is, and it's situated.
I'd like to see that.
Oh.
Okay. When did this happen?
Sometime in November.
Jonathan, when did it happen?
November 18th, 2004, ma'am.
And you came home and found everything destroyed.
Yes,
is that
ma'am.
right? Okay. And this is where the fish tank was?
Yes.
And it wasn't on wheels, was it?
It's on cinder blocks.
It's not one of these remote-controlled fish tanks that move around.
No.
How long have you been living in this apartment?
Almost a year.
And in the year, has the fish tank been in the same spot?
It was placed in the end of summer, and then it happened in November.
So it's been there for a couple of months?
A few months, yes.
Stationary?
Stationary.
And the only thing that's moved is you?
Is me, yes.
You get my drift where
Right.
I'm going?
Oh, and I wrote in...
So why don't you tell me, Christopher, how this happened and why you don't think that you're responsible to your former roommate for replacing his fish tank?
First off, I have a copy of our rental agreement which states that no pets should be allowed and that no things should be placed in hallways that obstruct movement. So what had happened was I'd filled this bowl with soap, concentrated hand soap and water, and I was walking from the kitchen to the garage because I wanted to spot clean my shoes. So as I was walking with this bowl, I saw my roommate who crossed from downstairs into this pseudo hallway because it's the main walkway from rooms entrance to the kitchen. So I took the bowl away to get it away from him, and then he made a sudden move to like try to mess with me, and I kind of stepped back and I banged my elbow into the fish tank, dropping the bowl into the tank. And that's what happened.
Do you have any witnesses that were there that day?
Actually, no one witnessed it, so no one saw it.
Well, the other roommate was there, according to him.
He didn't tell me anything beyond that they were horsing around. That's it.
Tell me what happened when you got home.
When I got home, I came in from the garage and basically saw him and another roommate removing bubbles from the tank. And I was kind of shocked. And I go, "What happened?" He said, "I spilled soap into your tank." "How'd you do it?" "I was horsing around." "Well, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm moving the bubbles." So I ran over there and tried to fish the fish out of the tank with a net and put them into fresh water, hoping that I could save their lives. They were kind of floundering around, but I mean, there was still some sort of life in them.
How many fish did you have in the tank?
I had sitlets and plecos and a gourami, ma'am. I was trying to breed them.
So you had 6 fish?
I believe I had 7, 9, 10 fish and 2 snails, ma'am.
And they all died?
Yes, ma'am.
Christopher, listen to me carefully, sir. Whose fault do you think it is that all these fish died?
I think it should be, it's mutual, like, he shouldn't have had the tank there in the first place.
The tank's been there for months, sir. When for the first time did you complain to him that the tank was there?
I didn't want to complain to him.
So you never complained to him?
No.
When for the first time did you complain to him that he was in violation of the lease because he had pets in the apartment?
After he trying to come after me for $400.
But not before?
No.
So that's a lot of baloney. What you're saying to me really is, it's my fault and I'm trying to find some reason to avoid responsibility. So far, I haven't heard it's my fault because I was horsing around with my roommate.
It is my fault.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $330. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 8 on the calendar, the matter of Flynn versus Cavett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Flynn, how long have you lived in the building where you are currently residing?
I'm not currently residing there any longer, but I lived there for 15 years.
How long have you been out of that building?
1 month.
And how long had Miss Cavett been your upstairs neighbor?
Approximately 1 year.
Did you had any difficulty with her before this incident happened?
Nothing face-to-face, but was always noisy prior to this incident.
Had you ever complained?
No.
And on February 14th, tell me what happened.
On February 14th at 5 p.m., I entered my apartment and discovered that the ceiling and the walls were flowing with steady streams of water. Instantly, I ran to management and asked them if they could assist me in the problem and informed me that Jasmine Kivith, the resident above me in number 327.
Don't tell me what they said to you. Pronounce your last name?
Cavett.
Miss Cavett, you were home on February 14th.
Yes.
And you're going to tell me that through no fault of your own, the bathtub overflowed.
Yes.
And it was that overflowing bathtub that caused the damage to Miss Flynn's home.
Yes.
Because it was the bathtub's fault.
No, Your Honor.
Well, that's what I read here. It was the bathtub's fault. The bathtub didn't have an appropriate little hole in it. And even though you left the water running, it was the bathtub's fault for not having a hole.
There was no overflow drain.
Overflow drain. I'm not good at those things. So it was the bathtub's fault because it didn't have an overflow drain.
No, Your Honor.
Whose fault was it?
I was bleaching my bathtub, and there were tons of chemicals. The chemicals were so strong, I had to dilute them. So I left the water running, and I just was doing spring cleaning. It was an honest mistake. The water began to overflow. I did what I could to try and remedy the situation. It was an honest mistake, and she handled it in such a way that I had no choice but to refuse to pay her.
You come from California?
Yes.
What do you do?
I work at a company called Mad Science, and I teach in-class workshops and after-school programs.
You look like a nice young lady.
Thank you.
You're not seriously suggesting to me that you're not responsible for the damage to her apartment and to her things.
I understand that what happened was not her fault at all. She could not help the water coming into her apartment, of course, but the way that she handled it, she attacked me in such a manner. She provided me no evidence when she asked me for money. She wouldn't let me into her apartment to assess the damage, and the two people who were able to see the damage told me that it was very minimal. They had dealt with her numerous times, that she was crazy, and I was beginning to think that she was a little crazy because she would yell at me, cuss at me, she would stand on her balcony demanding money.
Well, this happened on February 14th.
Yes.
So now we've acknowledged, Miss Cavett, that you were at fault. You lived in that apartment for a year.
Yes.
You know that the bathtub did not have an
overflow drain.
An overflow drain. Yes. This wasn't a surprise bathtub. It didn't sneak it in there,
No.
right, when you weren't looking.
Of course
This
not.
was the same old bathtub that was in there that was dirty because you hadn't been cleaning it all along. So you were bleaching it out and doing other spring cleaning, and you forgot about it.
I knew that the water was diluting the chemicals. It had to. I couldn't just leave the bleach, and it was such a...
Well, if it was diluting the chemicals, the water was
running, of course, yes.
And if the water was running and you didn't check on it often enough, then it was going to overflow,
yes.
Because it had no...
It had no overflow drain.
Right.
I was under the impression that in the state of California there must be an overflow drain or your plumbing's not up to code.
Okay. All right. There we go. Bert, stand up there, and I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see any of that. So let me understand something. It was the bathtub's fault that it wasn't up to code. Either that or you thought that somehow between the time you started to bleach the tub out and the time it overflowed, it came up to code and somebody snuck in an overflow hole?
No, Your Honor.
So that you knew that there was no place for this water to go if you left the water running except on the floor. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're not talking anymore about liability. We have now, you and I, determined, my dear, that it's not the bathtub's fault that it overflowed.
Of course not.
It's your fault. You were dusting and cleaning and being Martha Stewart and weren't paying attention to what was going on in your bathtub. Now the question is, what are the damages that Miss Flynn, the perfectly innocent bystander to this, suffered as a result of your negligence? Don't laugh at her. Don't smile at her. Just show me the damage.
Well, there was a raw pine dresser. It was in my closet with all of my other clothing and ended up being completely saturated and soaked. It swelled so bad that I couldn't open any drawers.
Okay.
So I replaced a dresser. There was a wool braided rug that was also damaged.
I assume you took photographs?
Yes, I did.
Can I just see them, please?
Sure.
Good. Now, when did you tell...
I went to her apartment and I confronted her and informed her that there was a serious situation occurring in my apartment and that at some point we were going to have to do a damage assessment. For 2 weeks, I didn't hear one thing from her. So I wrote her a letter informing her that I was expecting her to assume responsibility and that I was willing to give her a break on certain items that were damaged because I understood she was having a difficult time.
Okay. So far, I see a lot of walls. You didn't replace any of the walls.
No.
You didn't repaint or anything.
Right.
They did that. Okay. How much did it cost you to replace the dresser?
$216.
You have a bill?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? And the rug?
Haven't replaced it.
How much did you pay for it?
It was $180.
What happened to the Tiffany lamp?
Water came down on the surface area where I had a coffee table, burned it out, wouldn't work.
Okay. $489 are what your bills are.
Here is a $75 bill to clean my carpet.
Okay, let me take a look at that. Okay. I think that you're responsible for $564 worth of damage to her apartment, including the cost of cleaning carpets. What do you want to show me?
I have a letter in which she states that she bought a rug from Walmart for $39, and now she's charging me for a different one for $200.
In place of the one for $180.
Let me see the letter. So instead of the rug for $180, you replaced it with a rug for $39?
I said that in this letter, if you'll read it, it's stating that I expected her to assume responsibility and that I would give her a break and I was willing to work with her. That arrangement was created in hope that I didn't have to go to court and sue her.
Okay, the items that she originally indicated to you come to $366.
Yes.
Plus a lot of aggravation.
Your Honor, I tried to work with her. I have a phone bill here.
So what did you offer her?
I called her numerous times.
What did you offer her?
She was harassing me, and I asked to see the damage. I couldn't offer her anything without knowing what I was paying for. All I asked for was a mere photograph or to be let into her apartment to see. You know, I apologized for what happened, but I said, can we work together? Can I see what's going on? I can't just blindly hand you money and say, here, I know there was a flood, so here's all my money. All I asked was to see what happened.
Judge Judy, for 2 weeks, I had to try to wrangle her into coming to take damage assessment, into trying to come to my apartment.
What was the
set up
first
an
date on
appointment.
your phone bill? What was the first date that you called her after the flood?
February 22nd.
That's not enough.
That's not before I had her phone
Listen
number.
to me, my dear. You don't need a phone number. You go up to her apartment, write her a note.
I did. I didn't write a note, but I knocked on the door.
Listen to me. If this happened on February 14th,
yes,
you going up to her a week later is not sufficient. You calling her on the telephone a week later is not sufficient. She's not going to keep dirty laundry, a rug around while you make time to go up to her house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You've made this case very, very complex because this convoluted story that you tell me doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Zai. It's a very dumb thing to do.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stacy Flynn says her former upstairs neighbor, Jasmine Cavett, damaged her apartment when she overflowed her bathtub. Jasmine says it was an accident.
Look, the original bills that you gave her amounted to $366. What you've padded over the next couple of months, because you've been aggravated and annoyed, come to $564. Quite honestly, I believe that your time is worth something.
Thank you.
Your time to clean the premises, the time to get rid of the rug, the time to go out and buy new boots, the time to sop up the stuff, the time to wait for people to come and clean the carpeting. That's worth something. Now, the fact that the defendant says it was an accident, well, it certainly wasn't on purpose. She didn't mean to cause this flood, but she did cause the flood, and she was responsible for the consequences, including your loss of time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't even know her. She apparently didn't like me. I have no idea why.
Completely irresponsible, total drama queen, liar.
I felt unsafe going home. I never knew what she was going to do.
Never once did she even come down to my apartment and ask me if she could help.
Where's my effing money?
Maybe this will teach her a lesson, hopefully.
It's a learning experience.
When she watches Judge Judy, she probably won't ever forget what she did.
And West Baum is suing his ex-wife, property manager Lisa Baum, for filing false charges against him. Lisa claims West violated a restraining order.
Come to order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. That's case number 463 on the calendar in the matter of Baum versus Baum. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Baum, the defendant is your former wife, and it is your claim that she filed a false charge of violating a protective order against you. You want to be compensated for being taken into custody and those false charges. And Ms. Baum said she did not, that you did, in fact, violate a protective order, and she did not accuse you of any crime. She just really did what she was supposed to do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When were you and the defendant married?
1984.
And when were you divorced?
1999.
And you have 2 children?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
17 and 16.
When you divorced, who got custody of the children?
I did.
Was that after a trial or by agreement?
Trial.
And these are your 2 girls?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did the girls live with you?
Up till 2003.
So far, are those dates correct?
No, ma'am.
He got custody of the children in 1999?
Yes, ma'am.
And they lived with him until what year?
2002.
What month?
November.
What happened in 2002?
I received a call from him, and he said Katrina wanted to come live with me, so I went and got her. Elizabeth stayed with her dad.
So Katrina, one child came to live with you in November. That's
Yes,
Katrina. Did there come a time when Elizabeth went to live with her mother?
Only through why we're here. She went to do visitation. At that point in time, her mother went to the court and filed a protective order saying that I gave her a black eye.
When was that?
August of 2002. No, 2003, I'm sorry.
And so from August of 2003 until what time, what month and year did Elizabeth stay with you?
December of 2004.
And what happened in December of 2004?
On December 1st, Katrina and I had gotten into an argument that morning, and the girls proceeded to go to school. Elizabeth went to school and decided she didn't want to be with me anymore, so she left school grounds without anybody's permission, got a ride to her dad's work, and she's been there ever since.
When did you find out that she was missing?
Like 30 minutes. I called the school because I kind of had an idea. I had called Elizabeth's cell phone.
Well, if you had an idea, then something more happened. Then you had an argument with Katrina, Miss Baum.
No, ma'am, it was just an
argument.
argument.
Then why, if you had an argument with one child, why would you think that something happened to your other child?
Because Elizabeth went to the school and told them that she wanted Child Protective Services called.
Against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so well, that would give you a clue.
But it was unfound.
Just a second. But that would give you a clue that there was trouble. And that all happened on December 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. You're 17, Elizabeth?
Yes.
You live with your father.
With my other one.
I understand that your initial problem was with your other daughter, but it was Elizabeth who spoke to the guidance counselor. It was Elizabeth who caused them to contact Child Protective Services, who ultimately contacted you and started all the trouble for you. And you reacted to that, Mrs. Baum, by going to court, and instead of letting things settle down with your 2 girls, going to court and making trouble for your ex-husband.
No, that's
exactly what you did. Oh, yes, that is exactly what you did. Your former husband is suing you for $2,000. He said he was arrested. How long were you taken into custody for, sir?
I was released that day. But if I may add on that?
Yeah.
Prior to that, my daughter called me about 12:30 that day. And because where they live is in a separate city, I told her to call the Virginia Beach Police Department to find out what they would have her do. And they said, come see me. So she got a ride to home, and she got a ride from home to my work. At that point, I got a couple calls on my cell phone. I'm not sure if I responded to a call, if I called her back and said, hey, she's here with me, but do not come up here and cause any trouble. After work, we'll settle this. We'll go through it, find out what's going on, and get to the bottom of this. Later that night, she called her, Elizabeth, up. My ex called her Elizabeth up and said, I want your cell phone and your key. She came over to the house and got the cell phone and her key to the house.
Did you go to his house?
I went to the parking lot next door at like 7 o'clock at night to pick up the cell phone that's in my name and my house key.
But not your daughter?
No, she didn't.
No, why? No, because...
Your Honor, I can't pick her up and put her in the car.
Because she didn't want to go home with you.
That's right. So,
and if you, are you telling me, are you suggesting to me that this magistrate before whom you appeared to get a protective order, you told him that your daughter didn't want to go home with you, she was okay with her father, and you went and you got your cell phone because you were worried she would make telephone calls. We're worried about her. Worried that she would make telephone calls. Whew. Your Honor, you're absolutely right, sir. It was vicious and it was vindictive.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, says his ex-wife, Lisa Baum, falsely accused him of violating a protective order. West says because of Lisa's actions, he was arrested.
Now, your motivation for going to the judge for a violation of protective order, I believe, was vicious and vindictive and had absolutely nothing to do with the safety of your child. Because your actions that day belie the fact that it had anything to do with the safety of your child, because you went there alone to get your key and your cell phone. And if you actually had fear for your child's safety, you would have called the police and said, please come with me, I have to go get my daughter, she is in danger. You didn't do that.
I did do that. We went to his employment to get her with the police.
They had me arrested.
Just a second.
No, to pick up my daughter. I didn't care what happened to him.
Just a second. And what happened when you went there?
They weren't there. Your Honor, I didn't get any help from the police.
You didn't need any help getting the key and the cell phone, only your daughter. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $2,000. That's all.
Sorry, Judge, you may step out.
Now I married a beautiful wife, and she has a problem with it.
I left messages with him, you know, call me, let's work this out, and I don't get any reply. I think he's afraid of what his wife will say.
She didn't want me, and she didn't want nobody else to have me.
No, that's not true.
It's the first time that I've gotten justice in the court system for a long time.